What's up, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Good Anime Palette Podcast. This is episode number 47. We have recorded a bunch of episodes in the past for future releases, but time has caught up to us in the present, and now we are once again diving back into the world of anime and manga. I am your co-host, Jason, and I am joined, as always, as usual, with long-distance Will over here. What's up, buddy?
Holy shit, that was a really fucking good intro. Wow, okay. Damn, you must have been primed to do this.
Yeah,
because we haven't actually recorded in just over 6 weeks. It's been a long time since I've had a mic in my face.
But you do know... Yeah, okay, never mind. Yeah. It's been a while. Like what?
It's been a hot minute. Damn. Yeah. Look, a lot has happened. And just in case no one has, well, if you're listening and you don't know what the situation is going on, so we've done many recordings. I mean, as you've seen, this is currently episode 47 of the regular podcast episode format for the GAP. But whilst we have done a couple where, because of COVID, Jason was at his place, I was at my place, we had to do it remotely. This time around, we're not even on the same continent. So whilst Jason's all the way
same
out in
planet,
Hong Kong,
though, I have to reiterate, same planet.
Same planet, still in the same 3D realm.
Same
just
timeline, though?
Different location. Which Earth are you on?
Earth 2. I've been buying a bunch of real estate, buddy.
Good. Okay. So not 626, right? We're not going to go into the Marvel universe, are we?
I don't even know. The world's on fire.
I think that's 626. I think 626.
Cryptocurrency is going up in flames. We're talking over each other because we're not next to each other. I'm sorry about that, but
oh, don't. We can train wreck a little bit. So yeah, I'm all the way out in the Great White North in Toronto. I'm here because my sister just got married, so I now have a brother-in-law. I am staying at my parents' place up in Richmond Hill. It is cold as fuck over here. The weather report says it's going to be snowing in a couple days. That's pretty normal for Canada. It's
how
not
many
normal
inches
for me
of
because
snow?
I haven't seen snow in like 10 years.
How many inches? Or predicted how many inches?
I didn't look that far. I know that's something that I should be looking into. I just haven't lived in the snowy, cold climate in a long time. But you spent a pretty good amount of time in the Midwest, out in New England. So you must be kind of used to snow yourself, right?
I personally really like winter, even the harsh winter. I think in Boston, one year they had a 10-minute frostbite warning. I always love telling this story because it was insane, the amount of fervor that caused. And then at Purdue in Indiana, in the Midwest, where I went to university, they had the first snow day in 10 years, 15 years or something crazy like that. And it was intense. Yeah, a foot of snow. So that's
yeah. I'm not sure how much snow it's going to be because despite it being pretty cold over here, it's still mid-November, and the snowfall really starts piling up in late December, early January, all the way through to apparently down to March, April out in Toronto. So yeah, before I was in Toronto, I spent about a week and a half over in Los Angeles, in California. Then spent some time over in New York. In between the California and New York time, though, you didn't know this, Jason. I got COVID. I got COVID about 2 weeks ago. Yeah.
Yo, what? We got to timestamp this. Oh my God, what? Okay, so tell me what happened, buddy. Was this post Hamilton, right? Post Hamilton.
No. This happened before. So I told you about Hamilton. I think I told you about the time I got the tickets for Hamilton. I actually got it in the tail end of my trip in California. So I was there for 10 days. And by around the 5th, 6th day, that's when I got COVID. So flying into LA, had the mask on the whole time. As soon as I landed in LAX, I took my mask off. It felt wonderful. It felt weird initially, but it felt wonderful. And then I caught up with friends, went over to Pasadena, went down to the SoFi Stadium. That's where the Los Angeles Rams, the NFL team, plays their home games. And you can imagine, right? A stadium that fits 65, 70,000 people, not a single person wearing a mask, unless they were medical services, emergency services.
Not even the staff?
No, actually, I don't think so.
Oh,
No,
shit.
I mean, because the mask mandate is like optional for most people now. So it's unless I guess if you're like in emergency wards or like A&E, then you would need to have a mask on.
Like
But
if
for
you're
the
a
most part,
normal
no.
medical personnel, yeah, I guess.
Yeah. Exactly. So I suspect that's where I got it. I either got it there or I got it on the plane. Because if you're on a plane, then like even with all the filters and ventilation and all that, you're still in an enclosed space. So yeah, got COVID, but it actually wasn't so bad. You know, like whenever you hear stories of people getting COVID, it's like, oh, they lose their voice, they're nonstop coughing, they lose their sense of smell, they're like lazy and lethargic for like 5 to 10 days. I was perfectly fine outside of like a sore throat. You know, I still had my sense of taste and smell. I was still like fairly active. There might be like maybe like half a day or maybe a full day where I felt like I was just like bedridden, couch ridden. But by the time like I think by the time I started doing my tests again, by the third or fourth day, COVID was gone. Like I'm triple like vaccinated. Okay, I had like my first 2 shots last year. I had my third shot earlier this year, and then yeah, I guess I just didn't have a very, very serious bout of COVID. So I managed to recover just in time, like about a day before I was supposed to fly out to New York. So yeah.
Wow.
COVID was interesting.
In the meantime, I had a coworker. I think two coworkers got COVID, and I had a bartender friend who works at a bar that I frequent quite a bit, and I think you know the name of. I don't really want to say it, but it's in Soho in Hong Kong. So so that's all I'll say. I know this bartender pretty well, and
Yeah, shout out to that guy. That guy's a trooper.
yeah, and he got COVID, and he currently has like really bad cough. But he, you know, as you in Hong Kong, you tested negative 2 days in a row, then you're good, right? So
Yeah, I think like, the post COVID cough is
oh yeah, and he can't
it
taste
lingers.
anything and smell anything. It's really fucked up.
Yeah, the post COVID symptoms can be pretty rough for some people. Like my sister got COVID earlier this year. To this point, she still has like random coughs that can spike. It might just be down to the fact that it's cold, dry weather here, but I have other friends who also still have like that COVID cough. They can't really get rid of it yet, and it's been like 6 to 10 months since they got it. So, if you've had COVID, I hope you've recovered from it. Or if you have COVID right now, well, you know, best of luck. Lots of fluids, lots of rest, and of course, lots of GAP to keep you company as well.
Yeah, because guess what, guys? In the past 6 weeks since we recorded, past 4 weeks since I talked to Will, other than like here and there messaging, because I've been pretty busy too. A lot of news has been happening, a lot of releases, and a lot of fall seasonal stuff has happened as well. What I think we're going to do is move some of it to a later date. I know we said that we will address it, but we have a lot of news to cover, so we're going to cover most of the news here, and then we're going to cover most of the fall seasonal updates, if any, in like the next episode, which is going to be hilarious because that's right before our episode 48 season finale. So
That just shows how quickly things have, I mean, we always do this, right? Every single season we start doing recordings, we start talking about, oh, the fall season's upon us, the spring season's upon us, and then we're in the midst of it and we start talking about, oh, you checked out this series, how's that series coming along? And then lo and behold, we're at the end of the GAP season, and the fall season itself is only a couple episodes away from wrapping things up. Time waits for no one, man. We're just trying to do our best to stay on top of stuff. So, from the looks of what we got right now, we've got 7 news stories. Is that correct?
yeah, we do. So let's start with let's just go with the first news story that we have on the docket. So
Yeah, let's just go from top to bottom.
So-
Just keep it simple there.
Kaguya-sama Love is War is a very, very well-known manga, a very, very well-known anime that has announced an anime film. I'm not sure whether or not that it's like a finale movie because I actually, unfortunately, have not caught up with season 3. I should, just like plenty of other things. Unfortunately, I'm trying to, like empty out the on hold list, and it really like is like a process. But
I managed to finish. Well, not managed. I did finish Love is War. Not too long ago. Spoiler alert. it's incredible. I mean, you can already see the clamor it's gotten on my anime list and how people are propelling it to the best anime of all time. But yeah, nothing from their way. It's still like it is absolutely amazing. So, dude, take your time, man. Like whenever you got time to actually start watching more anime that's not like JP related, that's not seasonal related, just enjoy.
The worst part is I have been watching stuff like maybe 1 or 2 episodes per day, just not other. Like, I'll get into it
But,
later.
but I mean, like, where do you start, right? Like, you do your backlog? Do you do the seasonals? Do you do JP work? Do you do like stuff that do you maybe like spend some time? We watched the we watched a movie.
Yes,
Oh, wait, we probably should have started. We'll talk about that after we finish this this news announcement.
Okay,
so
so
what's
we'll
this
jump.
news about,
We'll jump.
Kaguya-sama?
We'll jump back to what we've been watching after this news story. So, Akasaka, who is the mangaka for Kaguya-sama Love Is War, and also the writer for a very, very well-known and hotly anticipated up-and-coming series, Oshi no Ko, about idols. And we've talked about it for episode 46. And to be clear, Akasaka drew and wrote Kaguya-sama Love Is War, but only wrote Oshi no Ko, didn't draw it. And it turns out that there was an announcement probably some time ago that Akasaka said, yo, I'm retiring from drawing mangas, so I can just write manga instead, which is kind of a bit unfortunate because I think Kaguya-sama Love Is War, the art looks pretty pristine and nice and clean. But on the other hand, I mean, how many times, Will, have we heard of like X and X mangaka is like taking a hiatus due to failing health? Like that literal headline. It's just insane, man.
Yeah, I mean the fact that he said that he intends for Kaguya-sama Love Is War like to be like the last manga in which he's like fully responsible for drawing. Like he still says that he plans to continue drawing because it's that sort of relaxing hobby he wants to keep. And I think that's the main takeaway here. Don't take away the fact that he still has a good penmanship. He still wants to continue writing. I think the word he used itself was gensaku, which means original work. But within the context of manga production, it means writing like a specific manga story as opposed to drawing the art. So that's like what the gist of this whole announcement was. So I think maybe it's just the fact that maybe he was just falling out of love with the whole process of writing and creating manga. Maybe he wanted to keep those two things separate, where like he can devote his professionalism to purely writing, but also finding time to unwind by drawing. It might just be that. It might be as simple as that. There may be something else going on behind the scenes, but like whatever it is, we hope that this is their own decision. He wants to do this himself, and the only thing we can do is respect it. And hopefully we can look forward to more of his writings, and hopefully whoever decides to take up the mantle of doing the artwork for it is able to meet that high bar that he sets for himself. But whatever it is, we wish him luck, and we hope that he finds the best of what he wants for himself.
I mean, to be fair, I think one of the best things about Oshi no Ko is not the art, but the writing. So, look, I think if he wants to not draw as much, or as you said, as a hobby, or kind of like chill out for a bit, it makes sense with the failing health of a lot of mangakas and like losing sleep and health. And if you just want to stay in the industry long term, which I think a lot of creators do, like you got to look out for numero uno sometimes, your health, right? So that's very important.
And not just your physical health too, right? Your mental health, your emotional health, just trying to keep yourself, like well balanced so that you're not devoting too much into one basket. And then when, you feel like things are crumbling, you don't have an exit plan. You don't have something that you can like tune yourself out and just be able to relax. So it's a smart move, I think. Whatever it is, I respect the decision.
All right. So now we are going to go back in time to what we have been watching or reading, in this case watching.
Yeah, dude, we spent like maybe like 10-15 minutes just chatting before we even hit the record button. I have no idea how this just completely like flew over our heads. Like we actually did watch something literally together. We sat in a theater not that long ago and watched an anime movie,
and it was so out of like it's so out of our way, that of movie theater. You remember? It's like I've never been to that place before. It's just like
I hadn't been there in like 15 years, and all I remember was that there was an IKEA and there was an ice skating rink. It was a little more lively when we went. So it was at least I guess it was a nice location to go. I mean, it's kind of like similar to the plot itself within the movie that we watched. Yeah. So we only found out maybe about 2-3 weeks ago that the movie for Yuru Camp, the little camping anime that both Jason and I really, really, really love, was going to finally air and premiere in Hong Kong. So it took a while to find time within both of our schedules. Like for myself, not just only doing work, but also figuring out and planning stuff for my trip to North America. Jason just basically got hit with a bunch of work that he needed to do as well. But we did manage to find ourselves
Still, by the
2
way,
hours.
a bunch of
Yeah.
work. Yeah, but
2 hours that we were able to devote just to watching the Eurocamp movie, and suffice to say, it was a really good movie. Now, from my opinion, it was definitely worth watching. It didn't have as much of that sort of fluffy alert that most people would connect to Eurocamp. Both season 1 and season 2. We're waiting for season 3 to come out soon.
oh yeah, we
but
should
overall,
probably
I
talk
enjoyed it
about
very
that.
much.
Sorry, we should talk about that for news. We forgot about that. But yes,
Yeah.
go on. Sorry, Will, I interrupted you.
Yeah, so I very much enjoyed it. From you, I think you were like, this probably would have been. This is still good, but it would have been better if maybe it was like a mini series, like maybe like spread across 6 episodes as opposed to being a whole 2-hour movie.
So Yuru Camp, Laid Back Camp, is probably one of the top pinnacle echelon of fluffy slice of life anime, and I'm kind of hesitant to talk about the premise of the movie because I think that is kind of a very interesting revelation when you find out. Obviously, Will and I knew of the revelation before we watched the movie, but if you want to go in cold, which I think if you were to go in cold, I think it would be pretty. It would be a pretty nice surprise, I think, is all I'll say about it. But beyond the premise, I do think it drags on quite a bit. I mean, at 2 hours, I mean, I remember you and I, Will, like in the very beginning, like the first 30, 40 minutes was like, we were like on cloud 9. There was all these callbacks, whatnot. We were like, Laid Back Camp, Yuru Camp, hell yeah. Then there was like this middle section where like we were just, I think at one point we were both like staring at our phones for like, not like obsessively, but like kind of being like, how much time has passed? Like kind of like, and the plot was like waffling a bit. And then like, I guess the last third, it really picked back up and it ended up being pretty, like really good. So yeah, that's how I feel. Do you agree with that?
No, I agree. No, I think like you said, right? I was looking at my watch, not so much to be like, I really wish they would end. It's more just like this middle part is kind of taking a bit long to really reveal like what the whole purpose of this movie is. And when you get to the last 30 minutes, you're like, okay, this was all worth it. I very much enjoyed the experience of watching Eurocamp the movie in the cinema, but it might have been better to maybe watch it on like a week-to-week basis, or just wait for like if it was to be formatted in 6 episodes, wait for it all to come out and then you can binge it in your own time. Watch 2 episodes here, watch something else, go back to watching another 2 episodes here, watch something else, and then just finish off the last 2 episodes. Overall, though, I applaud the Eurocamp movie. I very much enjoyed it. I think I gave it an 8 out of 10.
I also gave it an 8 out of 10. I do think it falls short of making it like a great Yuru Camp entry, but it is still the same crew. It is still cutesy and fluffy and comedic beats, and it's just real nice to sort of get back into the swing of things.
Yeah. And, speaking of getting back into the swing of things too, right? So a week after I flew out, so this is like several weeks already after we finished doing our last recording, there was a new announcement, hot off the presses after, the film had come out, that the manga is going to be getting a 3rd anime season. So more Eurocamp, I'd say. Like I'm happy with that. What it's going to cover, though, it's still very much like, who knows? This is a point, like you said, where it might just be good to just not read anymore and wait for the thing to drop, and then afterwards just be blown away, or just have that discussion about like, I felt this that I felt this way about this season. I felt that way about the season. I'm just gonna go in blind.
Yeah, one thing that I'm quite curious about is they came out with an illustration to announce the third season, which a lot of animes do, and it is a bit cryptic, which I also think is by design, and obviously when there's more promotional material towards the release, I'm sure more revelations about what season 3 is about will be, more clear. Unfortunately, that begs the question of, if it goes down the way that at least I think will and I suspect it will, the movie is kind of important, but maybe not like mandatory. Do you know what I'm trying to say? Like it's in this weird.
We literally do not know, right? Like we only know so much from the announcement, from what we watched from the movie. We can only speculate at this point.
But hey, Late Back Camp third season, Late Back Camp movie, awesome.
Now, the next two bits of news we have, I think it's basically a two-parter there because they're actually they're both related. Let's lay on the first one here. So there is a novel series called The Most Heretical Last Boss Queen, from Villainess to Savior. So there was an announcement, I think 2 weeks ago. No, actually just under 3 weeks ago. That this particular novel series is going to get an anime adaptation premiering next year in July 2023, and that MBS has just released a teaser trailer for this particular series. So it's kind of focused on a young person who got reincarnated, destined to be a wicked queen, and also the final boss of an Otome game. Hilariousness ensues, and yeah. That's about all I really know about this.
So,
have you read the light novel, or do you know much about the series itself?
Oh, do I? For our episode BP12, Will, that we released on November 8th, but we recorded like ages ago. I think it was like almost a month. I think it was like either the start of October or so, or the end of September, somewhere there. Like we recorded this. And the hilarious thing is, I directly said this manga adaptation, based on the light novel, but I read the manga. There was 2 volumes, and I was like, this shit is good. Like, I don't understand why people don't, like, pay attention to it. And literally, during that time, when we released BP12, they announced the anime adaptation, and I was just like, guys, why you do this? Like, it makes me look like an idiot. I should have released it sooner and make me look like a prophet. But unfortunately, that's where, as much of a good news that is, there is unfortunately a bit of sad news, because the second...
This was just announced last week.
Yep. Which is the manga adaptation, The Most Heretical Last Boss Queen, from Villainous to Savior, which I read 2 volumes of. Really love it. 7 Seas Entertainment, I think, released it. It is great, but it is now canceled due to the author's poor health. That's essentially it, really. I think that the light novels still might be continuing, but either the manga will have, like, serialization in some form, but they're not have any concrete plans yet. But obviously, the light novel will continue on, and it is just really unfortunate that it has come to this, because I do think that there are more people that read manga than light novels, even though I don't think that is like a right way or anything. I just think more people are more exposed to manga, really. That's it. And it's a really good manga, drawn very well, actually, so extra sad on that part.
Yeah. So the mangaka Bunko Matsuura, we hope you find time to take care of your health. Don't worry about it. I'm sure you really left a good impression on many people across the weeb sphere. So hey, like just focus on you.
Yeah,
do what's best for yourself.
And if you can, support by buying the manga, the digital manga by 7 Seas Entertainment, to show sort of your support and things like that. It's a really good manga. I think I gave it a 8.5 or a 9 out of 10 essentially. It's a really good villainous isekai manga. So that is the end of those two news stories. But Will, let's
Yeah, this one's going to be a bit tough to discuss because we don't want to get too sort of political, too sort of anti-capitalist and whatnot. But we got to talk about it. I'm sure everybody has seen the shitstorm that's been kicked up over in the Twitter sphere after the new CEO, Mr. Elon Musk, has gone around and not exactly made Twitter the best of places to be at the moment. Yeah, that just means loads and loads of people are doing more and more tweets, sort of just bashing the platform, bashing Elon, just saying this and that, and that hasn't that has also extended within the world of anime and manga. So the Magical Girl site manga creator Kentaro Sato is now essentially pressing for royalties that come from Elon Musk because, in his words, quote unquote, Twitter's new CEO, Elon Musk, has been posting my drawings without permission. So I'd like a usage fee of $1 billion in dollars, end quote. That's a whole lot of money. That's a lot of money. $1 billion. Now, let's not forget that he did buy Twitter for $43 billion not too long ago. Maybe, maybe Mr. Kentaro Sato just wants a piece of the pie.
So, Magical Girls site, I actually read the first couple of volumes, and if you think Madoka Magica is edgy and dark, Magical Girls site basically grabs Madoka Magica and kicks it to the curb and then curb stomps it like Edward Norton in that one movie, like real bad. Magical Girls site is very brutal and just very unrelenting. So to use it as the meme, if you go on Twitter and look at the meme, I thought it was a very appropriate meme. I thought it was also very funny to be like, yo, 1 billion guys, come on. Elon, you can do that, right? I mean, you purchased it purchased Twitter for 44? You can spare 1 out of 44, right? What?
Well, I mean, with what Elon's been doing with the whole advertiser platform on Twitter, and also trying to, do that, one step, two step, double step verification process. It would be remiss to not just poke a little bit of fun in the sense that, hey, this kind of would be, copyright violation. So, I think Sato's well within his right to at least egg him on, stir up, a little bit of beef in the Twitter sphere. And like you said, right, Elon's a rich boy. He can spare some money.
I just find it funny, because it's memes, right?
It's fucking hilarious. I mean, we know how trolly the world of Twitter can be, and if this isn't an ultimate troll from the Anosphere, I don't know what it is. So, props to you, Sato, for standing up against the man and trying to get what's yours.
For what it's worth, there seems to be some sort of discussion of using memes that are, using images from other people's works and that being a copyright violation. At that point, we start getting into this weird kind of
the whole free use, intellectual property.
Exactly.
It's a very, very gray area.
We're
not experts in it. We
I think that's the term, right?
We don't really want to get that deep into it just because you and I aren't that versed within copyright law and all that. So
we're not lawyers.
Definitely not. So we'll leave it at that, and maybe move on to the next bit of news, which actually, when Jason brought it on to me, is both what the fuck and also holy fuck, this is actually fucking hilarious.
Also very timely, and you'll understand why when you've later. So
yeah, stick to the end of this episode.
So VR, virtual reality, is quite a important emerging technology, whether or not it is here to stay or not. It's begged, there's the Vive, right? Which is the one...
The Vive, the Oculus, or whatever the Oculus is now called. Let's just say that there's always people trying to push the boundaries of what reality is, whether it is in the augmented realm, whether it's in the virtual realm, whether it's in the meta realm. That's a whole different thing we don't want to talk about.
All predicted by 2008 anime called Den of Coil. But hey, you know what? Like, let's just leave.
I thought it was 2006.
This is 2006. Shit.
It's a long time
ago.
But you
Paul,
should definitely check it out. Deno's great.
yeah, you should. So Paul Luckey, who is, I think, the head of Oculus, and
the founder of Oculus,
and I think got purchased by Facebook/Meta. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Right?
That's correct, yes.
Which is also like another shitstorm over there. But let's talk about why this is relevant. Is because the guy came out and said, "Yo, you know that nerve? Is it called nerve gear? That
the nerve gear
that like SAO uses sort out online. You know that anime that is like really really popular. So we made it, kinda."
Yeah,
we're halfway there.
And what's great as well is that he made this announcement on November 6th, which is the dates that the fictional Sword Art Online VR MMORPG actually launched within the series universe. So the dude created a VR headset that can actually kill you.
Like, dude, like, it's like
it's funny, but holy fuck, that is so dark. You know, like,
yeah.
and there actually are like renderings like on the internet of what this nerve gear would look like in real life, and it's like it's funny. The guy's like, the good news is that we're halfway to making the true nerve gear. The bad news is I've only figured out the part that actually kills you. I'm not quite sure how the VR part works yet, but you know, we're still a couple years away. Yeah, the whole point of this is that if you die in the game, you die in real life, which is like, you know, a reference from the anime. It's a bit too close to reality.
Yeah, and for those that are not familiar with sort of like how this is sort of how this works in terms of the nerve gear, think of it like when you saw the Matrix movie and then they get plugged out before they get like, what do you call it? Like their mind gets
when their mind resynchronizes with their body, right? When they leave the Matrix or when they die in the Matrix.
Right. Basically when you pull the needle out from the back of their heads before they jacked out, I think is the technical term. They die, right? So this is essentially that, which is kind of like, as Will said, both hilarious and fucked up in so many ways. Like,
hey man, dark humor. I mean, it's more dark than humor, but I'm laughing, so I enjoyed reading that. Whether or not someone actually is going to put that on, just a health warning. Don't do it,
or don't do it
just
yet. Like, make sure the firmware is up to date. Make sure that you have ad block or whatever, or I don't know.
Sign all the releases, get out your NDAs and all that.
Yeah, make sure Norton Antivirus is a latest edition.
Bruh, like, I hate Norton Antivirus. I hate any antivirus. McAfee and all that. No, stop it. I don't want any more updates telling me I need to purchase your next plan. So yeah, there are some crazy ass people out there who are just 360 no scope mindset, just thinking about, rather than watching anime about headsets that can kill you, why don't we just make the damn headset itself?
Yeah, like, hey, forget about let's trying to make a lot of other possible things that exist in anime that would be crazy good, that benefits and furthers mankind in like a very positive way. I mean, you could say that like VR in many ways can be very positive, right? But instead of all the things you decided to say, you decided to kind of throw like an April Fool's joke kind of black humor statement, but obviously not on April Fool's. I don't know, man.
Like, people in the know will really, really enjoy the update, but on initial observation from like the unwary person, like, they'll just be like, this is a really, really fucked up article. This is a really fucked up world. And yeah, but let's not shy away from the fact that, yes, it is kind of fucked up, but it's also kind of fucking hilarious too.
It's a troll, 100%.
Yeah, very much so. We're about to wrap up our news section, but the next bit we're going to be going over is actually a little bit upsetting, not just for the viewers, but also for the studios and for the families that are connected to this particular property. So you have heard, both Jason and I talking about Golden Kamuy, you'll know that, at least from my perspective, Golden Kamuy is a very wonderful manga series, very wonderful anime series, and they had just been going through their fourth season. Unfortunately, there has been a bit of tragic news due to one of the main staff members who actually passed away fairly recently, and they were very much deemed indispensable to the production studio. So the committee decided that rather than going on with the show, they're going to pull all the stops and delay the release of any further episodes after some discussion. So it does mean now that the release of the Blu-rays and DVDs will need to be rescheduled. There's been announcements for sort of new airing dates, new release dates for home releases, but only when they decide that they're comfortable going forward with it. At this very moment, they much rather pay their respects to the member who passed away and the families and the friends who are going through this pain, this suffering at this moment. The only thing we can do on our end is to send our best wishes and hope that the families and the friends, people who are connected to this member, that they find some solace during this time.
Yeah, condolences. But just to be clear, the second half of the curse, so episodes 6 to 12 of the fourth season, which is episodes 43 to 49 of the whole Golden Kamuy anime, has been delayed. I don't think they have announced really a date, and that is...
They're just going to wait until there's a right time to talk about it, and that time, unfortunately, is still not now. So yeah, there has been an effect on the rest of the anime series, but it's for a very good reason. And I think that to be able to focus on and cherish the memory of this staff member who passed away, that would be the most important thing at this stage.
So I think it's coming back, but I think having kind of a pause, given the situation, is an extremely appropriate and necessary thing, just for everyone, really. I mean,
it's the right move.
Yeah, like it's just the right move. That's it. I mean, it sucks, I guess, for the consumer as well, if you think about it from that perspective. But also, like, dude, like, come on, like,
you can't expect the studio just to continue working with what's been going on, right? Like, forget about the fact that this member was quoted as indispensable to the studio. I think like this is like a period of grief, a period of healing that is needed, and we've all been through hell over the last 2.5, 3 years just from COVID alone. So the last thing we want to say is get back to work. And we don't know. No, absolutely do not do that.
Yeah, and to play devil's advocate, you might say, like, well, as a consumer, I kind of don't care that much. And I'm like, okay, fair. But think about it from a business perspective in terms of if you were to sort of soldier on, and clearly this person has been labeled as indispensable by the production staff and the committee, if you say, like, yo, crack the whip, let's keep going, you are going to lower morale. You are going to maybe even produce something that you as the consumer would not enjoy. So
exactly,
like,
with the studio deeming this person as indispensable, we may not know like what lengths that indispensable nature is, right? They might actually be like very much hands-on with the production of the work, but it might also be the fact that you're indispensable to the morale, the drive of the studio itself, and that person not being around anymore, that is very much soul-crushing. So I think that we need to take the term here, indispensable, in a more grander, more broad perspective. And no matter how you see it, whether you see it as you just want to continue watching more Golden Kamuy, or whether you feel that this is the right time for grief and for recovery, whatever the perspective is, it's a decision they've made and they're going to stick by it, and the only thing we can do is respect the decision they've made.
If it makes all you devil advocates out there feel any better, I'm sure someone somewhere crunched the numbers, proposed it in front of the committee to be like, yo, here is the situation. And if you take into consideration the sort of the Japanese way of doing things, it comes to no surprise to me that they wish to go, I guess, the more like human route, I guess, is the way to put it. And I agree with that statement, as like that decision, wholeheartedly. So yeah, I wish best of luck to Brain Space. My condolences to those affected. And I hope Golden Kamuy Season 4, whenever it comes back stronger than ever and continues to be a big, mark on the anime industry.
Yep. Now we're gonna end off this news segment with a bit of lighter news, a whole lot lighter in terms of the feel.
Yeah.
And
I added this last minute because I just thought it was a cool, kind of weird, cool story, and also because all the other news stories that we have been kind of touching on is either weird, trolly, dark humor, or just outright tragic, right? So
this, on the other hand, is just like nostalgic wholesomeness. I'm sure everybody here knows about the multimedia megalith, which is the monolith, which is just Pokemon.
Wait,
Pocket Monsters.
Okay, I know Pocket Monsters. I don't know what this Pokemon thing is. So
it's a portmanteau. It's a shortened form of it, right? So
right.
Pokemon has been running for well over 25 years. I very much remember playing the old Pokemon games on my little Game Boy Color back when I was 5-6 years old, maybe a little bit older.
I don't want to get copyright claimed, but that first OP, English OP to be precise, is the best childhood. Oh my
the
god!
Best that ever was,
oh
right?
My god. You just want to be.
I mean,
oh my god!
There's no music, there's no background track running in the background. I'm not saying the rest of the lyrics. I'm well within my right to say those specific words.
Will, you teach me and I teach you, right? That's all that matters,
yes.
right? Yeah.
Yes, all that matters is you and me.
So Ash Ketchum, which I
that's the other thing too, right? It's still Ash Ketchum. He's still fucking 10 years old.
Which, by the way,
don't know how that works.
I thought it was Ash Ketchum for the longest fucking time. Okay. And I even made that blunder. I made that blunder at one point somewhere during our recent recordings.
You did record it back. I don't think you did it on purpose. I think it was just a slip of the tongue.
Yeah,
so
and then I corrected myself then, right then and there. But it is true that just like how I discovered the meaning of the Final Fantasy popular revival item Phoenix Down, I understood what that meant very, very far into my life. Are you aware of this, Will?
Yes.
I did not know because I thought, Phoenix down. Down means, you fall down and the Phoenix rises you up. But no, it's the down of the feather, like a down blanket. But I just never made the connection. So I thought it was Ash Ketchum for the longest time, and he wears red, so,
Yeah, well, for the longest time as well, all Ash Ketchum did was just basically run around the world and catch Pokemon and make new friends, not knowing that, from the very first episode, he was supposed to be the very best. And 25 years later, he's only gone and done it. He is now officially one of the best, if not the best, trainer in the world. He's finally made something of himself. Actually, the thing is, well, since he started this journey back in 1997 in the Pokemon Indigo League series, he actually then secured, this was actually over 22 years later after that, in 2019, Ash Ketchum secured his first ever Pokemon League championship in the Pokemon series Sun and Moon. Now, in the latest season called Pokemon Ultimate Journeys, the series, he put himself to the test at the Pokemon World Coronation series, which was essentially a culmination of all of Ash's adventures spanning over 25 years. And he finally won it. He finally became the top trainer across all of Kanto, across all of the world. Congratulations to Ash Ketchum.
Yeah.
Ooh,
so,
clap.
Sticklers might say, well, he has won championships in the past. I'm like, okay, fine. Yes, okay, good. I'm sure you can name all of them. Congratulations. But this one is extra kind of important because it's kind of like a culmination of all these different kind of champions and stuff. So it's kind of like the world. It's
the
like
cream of the crop.
The cream of the crop. And to win that, I mean, of course he's going to win it probably. I mean, I thought about saying spoilers, but come on, guys. Come on, okay?
I also like the image they used of him holding up the trophy. I only recognize like 4 of the Pokemon granted because 3 of them are from the first generation, and then the other one was because one of them is Lucario, and she I don't know what the gender of the Pokemon is. They made an appearance in the most recent Super Smash Brothers game on Switch. I have no idea who the other 2 Pokemon are.
Oh,
though.
the fencer one? Yeah, he is he's the evolution one.
Fencer Duck.
He is the
Farfetch'd?
He's Farfetch'd's evolution.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Then what's the thing behind him?
Your guess is as good as mine, dude, on that one.
Yeah.
You got Dragonite, you got Gengar,
Yeah, Gengar, Dragonite, Pikachu, Lucario, Farfetch'd evolution form. But yeah, fictional congratulations to fictional Pokemon trainer. Hooray! Ash Ketchum, finally, world's top trainer, 25 years. Never thought I'd say that. Never actually thought I would actually fucking say that.
So, Will, what is the rival's name? Childhood
Gary?
Oh, there you. Okay. All right. I mean, that's not a hard question, but do you remember Gary's first Pokemon?
Oh shit. I actually don't remember.
Rattata, I think.
Oh.
I think.
Was it?
Shit.
Awesome. Who knows?
I don't
know.
Charizard is in
on
there
how you
somewhere, I guess. I don't know.
I mean, like, I guess it goes. It's how you go about the game, right? If you're talking from the game perspective, then Gary just picks whatever is stronger against whatever starter Pokemon you pick. But if it's by the TV series, bro, like I haven't watched that shit in fucking like 20 years. I don't know.
Yeah, don't hold me to the Rattata thing. I think I might. There's a good chance I'm wrong, but congratulations to the fictional Ash Ketchum for winning. Being the winningest
the most winningest, the very best. And I think that's where we'll leave it, right? Like there's no need to toot his horn anymore. I'm sure he's gonna go and fictionally enjoy his fictional trophy.
What do you think you do at that point?
Well, after this, I don't know. Like, but
Turn
at the
11.
Same time, it's like I don't know. Dude, at the same time, it's like the Pokemon company is just going to continue milking this too, right? So who knows? Maybe in another 25 years, he finally decides to win another championship. Who the hell knows?
I need
to be fair,
someone
though, it's also
who watched that. Was it Bump of Chicken? Music video with a Pokemon,
that's,
and then
the music video,
and explain to me the significance of like all of this, because I get it, but I don't get it. You know what I mean? Like.
I think it's mostly just people going through like that sort of like trip through nostalgia, but at the same time, like you said, right, there are like certain references in there that you and I just do not understand or had just missed. So, hey, maybe we're just too old to know what the fuck we're supposed to be able to see.
Yep. So, I think that wraps up.
Yeah, we might just go straight into it now, then, right? Like I know that we're only just got through the news section. I mean, we only just got through the news, but I think we can probably just power on, right? I mean, it is,
Can I take a short, 5-minute break? Just I literally just need to go to the bathroom, and
sure, I'll go ahead and make a coffee as well. It's 10 o'clock in the evening over here on
you're
this side.
You're soldiering on, my bro. Like fuck, dude. Jesus.
All right. So that puts an end to the first half of today's recording, this day's episode. We will be back after our coffee/bathroom breaks, and then we will be going into today's topic, which if you haven't seen already on whatever podcast player you're using, we are going to be revisiting the Gotta Watch 'Em All series. So stay tuned. We'll catch you back in
side
the second
note,
half.
I also want to use our break music because I felt bad we haven't used it in a bit. So there's also
all
that.
Right. So,
all right.
Our break music in 3, 2, 1. And we are back for the second half of today's episode of the Good Anime Palette Podcast. As a reminder, we are on episode 47. Both Jason and I are now refueled, have had our bathroom breaks, and we're ready to crack on with today's main discussion. So, Jason, it's been a while since we've, as always, been a long time since we talked about Gotta Watch 'Em All, namely the Jojo Bizarre Adventure series, as well as the Monogatari series. So, are you ready to talk more about Stardust Crusaders and the final season of the Monogatari series?
Absolutely. So, just so you guys know, as per usual, we will have non-spoiler sections for JoJo and then Monogatari, or Monogatari and then JoJo. And then we will have spoiler sections for each. Everything will be timestamped, and we will have, like, I don't know, a couple of seconds of silence before we get into the spoiler section, just so that if you accidentally clicked on that timestamp, there is like a couple of seconds to revert back to the, like a non-spoilery state. So you can either join us after or along the ride as you listen. So
should we go into JoJo first, or should we do
Sure.
Monogatari first? Let's do JoJo then. Okay, cool. So as we left off, as I recall, you had a bit of a scheduling issue, mostly because work was really, really on your ass during that time. So you actually weren't able to finish up the first half of JoJo, or season 1 of JoJo Part 3. So I think for today's recording, you're going to be going over what was left over from that first half, and then going into the second half, which is subtitled as Battle in Egypt. That part of JoJo, right?
Right. So Stardust Crusaders is 4 curs, and then they split it into season 1 and 2. Season 2 being Battle to Egypt, or Battle in Egypt. I don't know.
Battle in Egypt, I think. Battle in Egypt, yeah.
Right. And obviously it takes place in Egypt. Duh. But I only managed to finish half of season 2 of part 3. So now I finished all of part 3, Stardust Crusaders. We thought about me starting a bit of part 4, but I didn't want to do that. So I wanted to reset it, so then the next time you listen, it's like back to part 4.
Yeah, just so that we can, get everything back in order again. And I think that's the right decision. And to be fair as well, right? Even if you were to catch up on just part 3 and the rest of like the second season of it, that's just still a lot of anime. I mean, in total, right? Like 4 curs, 48 episodes. That's a lot of shit you need to watch.
Well, I only watched 12, but yeah, it was a lot. And I think that multi-cur JoJo is going to continue to go. So you got to take your time, keep a relaxed pace as much as best you can. Cannot get burned out by the JoJo fire, because, okay, let's talk about how I feel, non-spoiler, about JoJo Part 3, Season 2, Part 2, and I guess all of Season 3. I don't fucking know.
It's a clusterfuck.
The second half of Battle to Egypt.
We're talking about Stardust Crusaders. You're finally like finished with the whole damn thing now. You've seen some crazy shit, some kind of questionable shit in the first half. You then got introduced to Iggy, one of the new party members, in the beginning of Battle in Egypt, and now you're finished. You're now in the end game of Stardust Crusaders. What are your overall thoughts on a non-spoiler perspective?
So, before I get to that, I just want to confirm with you, Will, Iggy is voiced by a woman, right? But is a dude.
I think so. But okay. I think it's also like, I mean, it's a dog. It doesn't really matter whether or not
really matter.
It's voiced by male, female, or anything in between. I just thought that Iggy's a dope ass character.
So let's start with what I really like about the last quarter of what I saw of part 3, which is the battles continue to be very entertaining, and a lot of the quote-unquote bizarreness continues to escalate, and in fact, I would say escalates even further to the grand battle, which takes place, as you might suspect who the big bad is. I don't really think I need to spoil it or really say it's a spoiler, but come on, it's the big bad of JoJo, right?
It's like, even if you don't know about the series itself, you've seen the memes. It's circulating around the internet. You know damn well what's about to happen.
It's Dio, okay? Look, it's Dio.
No.
Oh, God.
Dio this.
It's futile to escape this piece of information, this nugget of knowledge.
This must be the work of an enemy stand.
Exactly. So, I think that the characters that I had an issue with for example, with Iggy, with Avdol, and Kakuin, and a
I mean,
lot.
you also had some issues with Jotaro as well, right?
Exactly.
Jotaro, right? You were very very passionate about your issues with the first half of Stardust Crusaders, and
Yeah.
then of course in the previous recording for the GWEA, I think that was like the fourth iteration for it. I think you kind of took your foot off the gas a little bit, but you still held on to a few things you're like, they didn't really need to do this. I still feel that there's certain things that are a little bit insensitive, or perhaps could have had some reconsiderations. But understand that if this is the source, then what can you really do? You just have to, either accept it or not accept it.
So I will say that what I feel about Jotaro, like namely his delinquent nature, is basically gone in terms of he still is a delinquent and still is like this cold stoic person, but the problems that I had basically about the way he treats certain people has largely pretty much been eliminated and gone. So that's great.
Like he grew the fuck up real fast.
And the things that I love about Jotaro ends up just being the thing that is left, which is great. And a lot of the characters really fulfill like sort of the archetype that they're kind of destined to sort of be. So I quite like that. I also, it relieved my sort of concern about stakes, like consequences. And I alluded in like the first half of Battle in Egypt that there were consequences that were starting to show up. And it was in a way refreshing to know that that kind of risk and reward, that kind of, the edge of your seat stake matters. And I would say now matters way, way more.
Like you don't just get away with anything, right? Like there are of course going to be consequences to your actions.
I also predicted, I mean, it's not that hard, that like Dio's power is gonna be like fucking insane. And it turns out I was half right. It is still quite insane, just not as insane as I thought, because obviously you cannot make it crazy. So I was quite interested and surprised and pleasantly happy at the reveal of what Dio's powers were. And I think it really wraps up a lot of part 3 on a very positive note where I had a lot of qualms with.
Yeah, so it was very clear, right? First half, if you just look by the MAL score, right, on my anime list, not even like taking into account like your score and your perspective, very very clearly. Part 1, season 1 of part 3 and season 2 of part 3, very very like wide disparity in terms of its score. Like much much higher ratings for the second half as opposed to the first half. Even though as a whole, part 3 was a very very enjoyable part of the Jojo verse. In your opinion, it seems to kind of follow that trajectory as well, right? Like you had your issues with the first half. You still enjoyed it, but there was definitely things where you're like, they didn't need to do this. I'm very not okay with this part. And it's less so in the second half. And in fact, you're focusing more on the things that are fun and truly bizarre about the series.
Yeah, and I just think it wrapped up pretty well. So, and that's where I will now talk about the not good things. The first, sorry, before that, I think certain characters, their character developments were actually fantastic. I think Iggy, Palmeroff.
Dude, I fucking love Iggy. Pomarov is great too, but I think like if I had to give like a good shout out as well, Kakuin like definitely shines quite late on the series. Like, very very different characterizations compared to the first half.
Because the first half he was kind of like this.
He was a
gentleman. No, he was a dick first.
Yeah,
and a womanizer. Then became kind of like the level-headed person, like the least interesting because he's level-headed.
The goody two-shoes.
Yep. And then it is nice to sort of see sort of the development of all of these characters including Avdol, even though I say Avdol is the weakest of all of them in terms of the character development. But okay.
So yeah, where are the cracks? Where are the things that you're like, there's still this lingering issue with Jojo,
I
or at least
thought
in this part of, at least within part 3.
I thought the ending battle, the end of the ending battle, the grand battle with Dio, the end of that was really stupid. Like really stupid. Like not even like Jojo stupid. Like
Because there were a lot of endings to that particular battle. So I think I know which one you're talking about, but we will definitely discuss it during the spoiler section. I half agree. I see the ridiculousness in terms of like, this is absolutely fucking stupid. I don't know how this even works. But at the same time, it's a bizarre adventure. That's just how it is, right?
I understand that, right? And I also think that the logic gap of some of these battles, how they played out, was really bad. In that, I don't think the battles were bad, to be precise, but I think there were like certain kind of like mini twists that's like, oh ho, you didn't predict this or you didn't do this, and I'm just like, nah, I kind of would have, but I guess you guys didn't write that in, or I could have, even if I didn't know, like, sort of, quote unquote, the answer to how they the JoJos and that the whole gang overcame, a certain villain or deal or whatnot. I thought that there were certain things that happened that I was just like, I would not do that. I don't think anyone would do that, but I guess it's JoJo. So
do you think it's a case of like, I don't care how you do it, just do it?
No, I mean, I think I can get into spoilers about it, but
Okay.
I will say the first major battle that I saw involves Iggy, and that's nothing bad actually. That's something that I thought was awesome, right? But
That was the big that was like the first couple episodes that you got into when you restarted part 3, right? So I think I know which battle that you're talking about.
yeah, and I was hyped about it. It was great, and then
It was a good ass battle too. It was a really good battle.
then there were, let's say, a set of brothers, and I talked about one of the brothers last. Gotta watch them all, which is technically part of this quarter. It's just I watched a little bit ahead. The second brother is equally as entertaining and pretty good as well, and contains a lot of meme-tastic stuff. But there are certain other villains, particularly one that has some copyright infringement type of name, which is very obvious because they say the name in Japanese.
I mean, that's just
like
that's just an issue. Yeah, that's just an issue that's played throughout all of JoJo.
Right.
None more so because they introduce a lot of characters in part 3, so there's going to be a lot of like gray area. Not even gray area. It's just straight up like you're just saying the damn name now.
Yeah, and it's funny because the subtitles clearly did not say that name, but say a variation of it, which I understand. Like, I get, in fact, that was a huge issue with another future part of JoJo, like the adaptation, like they had to change the names. So I understand that, right? But is that villain in particular, I thought was it. First of all, that villain wrecked shit, and then the way it kind of resolved was kind of sus. But I did like everything leading up to it. I really did. And I also thought like it was just a bit I really did not like the end of that final battle with Dio. I really didn't like it. It left a very sour taste, and then what happened afterwards was also like a very it's like it reminded me, this is going to sound really bad. I'm really sorry guys, but it's like the Bleach power cycle.
Yeah.
And I just didn't think I didn't buy into it. I didn't.
The one thing I will say as well, and this kind of like tags along what you said about the ending of part 3, is I also felt. I mean, you felt the same too with the ending of part 2, that it was just like, what the fuck? How did this happen? Why is this happening? This just feels kind of out of place. In fact, like, whilst I still feel that part 1 was the weakest out of all of JoJo, the ending was actually really, really damn good. Season
Absolutely.
2, yeah, part 2, the ending was why, and
I
then the third season, and then the third part, the ending was how, like what's going on. But I think like it doesn't take away too much from the overall enjoyment of part 3. Like it still stands to me that like part 3 is one of my favorite. Well, not really. When I say one of my favorite, it's just, there's not that many to pick from right now, right? So I'd say it progressively gets better. You know, you had your part 1, you had your part 2, part 3. Definitely, like it kicks the door open. It's like this is truly the bizarre, the bizarreness of this whole adventure. And yeah, I'm keen to hear like at least what your score is though. Like you wanted to sort of give a score to part 1, to season 1 of part 3, season 2 of part 3, and then overall how you would rate part 3.
Let me double check my scores first. I gave part 2 essentially an 8. It was I think at one point I said it was an 8.5, close to a 9 if it would stick
So
the
cusp,
landing.
on the cusp, right?
I think that's what I said last time. I still stand by how I felt at that time.
Eight's still a great score, to be fair. Yeah,
Of course,
it's
eight's still a great score. I just don't think that. Again, maybe I'm being nitpicky, but when everything else was very good, or at least JoJo-esque, right? And now I am sort of like on that hype train. It just kind of was left a sour taste at the very, very end. Like maybe it's not a big deal, but to me it was.
I'm almost as current as can be with JoJo, and to this day, I still feel that some of the fights, some of the battles in part 3 were my favorite. So I understand, like, I guess the quote unquote pain that you have to go through in terms of summarizing part 3, and that there was so many crazy moments, so many enjoyable moments, so many head scratching what the fuck moments. But the ending does leave a little bit to be desired, and it's just that I would agree. Like if you were to drag the score down a little bit based on that, that's completely like fine. That's completely applicable.
And I think the battles with each of the two brothers that I'm talking about is the best. And it is actually one that is not really battle oriented in the traditional sense. And that's why I really like it, because it kind of is designed in such a way that really turns your normal kind of fights, physical bouts on its head. And I thought was really cool. There were a lot of interesting callbacks with the second sibling, the brother, and I was just very happy with that end. It was just great. And the OP kind of like second to last villain was kind of like really cool, and then it turned out to be okay. That's really it. Without
Overall,
getting into
though,
spoilers.
Fun time, right? I mean,
Absolutely.
I think you like you texted me the day when you were like, I'm like back onto the JoJo train. Yeah, no, nothing's changed. It's still hilarious. It's still complete chaos. I'm here for the ride.
Yeah. I still think overall part 3 is in many ways what people consider to be the quote-unquote beginning of JoJo, right? It's not the beginning, but it's where stands come in. It's where Jotaro is sort of referenced nonstop, and everyone adores him. And I am now very much, I like Joseph a lot, Grandpa Joseph to be precise. But
Joseph
Jotaro,
Joestar is fucking great. Yeah,
but Jotaro is pretty damn solid too. So I'm pretty satisfied, just not ecstatic. You know what I mean?
yeah. Well, I mean, you still got seasons, parts 4, 5, and beyond to look forward to. So hopefully, those will be able to carry that momentum for you.
Oh, one last thing, which is I'm not sure, but I think I watched through all the way to the end of the last episode, and usually they kind of reference the next part, and either I missed it, so I might have to go back and check, but I don't think they really talked about it.
No, they don't, because
Because at the
I'll,
end
I'll
of
talk about it. Yeah, let's talk about that part in the spoiler, because it actually is kind of a spoiler.
Okay, all I will say is the part that precedes it, which I think is Part 2 battle tendency, right? Which is JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, the first season. It's like really weird. But anyways, the stinger, like the end credit scene, references Stardust Crusader. So I was expecting, all right, let's get ready for the next part.
And to be fair, that preview clip at the end of Battle Tendencies was fucking lit. Like that was awesome.
Like you do not know what the fuck was going on, but you knew something was going on. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, I'm glad that you're very much part of this JoJo journey, and I'm really excited to hear what you have to say for Diamond is Unbreakable, which is part 4 of the JoJo's Bizarre Adventure series.
All right, so Will, actually, do you want to go into non-spoiler for Monogatari, or do you want to go into spoiler for JoJo? Because I just realized, even though earlier, right after the break, I said non-spoiler, spoiler, I think there is an argument.
Here's the thing with Monogatari, right? I think that because of how deep into the series I am now, I'm literally in the final season, right? It's kind of hard to go into non-spoiler territory because there really isn't all that much to say without actually spoiling stuff. So let's give it 5 seconds, and then we'll go into the spoiler section of JoJo Part 3.
Okay,
and then we'll go 5 seconds, and then I'll just tell you everything I have to say about Monogatari, the final season.
Okay, so just to be clear, we are now wrapping up non-spoiler for JoJo, and we are about to start spoilers for JoJo Part 3 in about 5 seconds, all right? Okay, so if you're listening now, that we are now proceeding on to the spoilers for JoJo Part 3, or at least the second half of Battle of Egypt that I watched. So, Will, first of all, no extra credit scene. I already said that in the non-spoiler. I was a little bummed out, but that's not like a deal breaker, right?
Not really. I think it's just because of the fact that if you were to see any of like the preview clips or any like poster art or box art of Part 4, you'll notice immediately it is like a major departure, not just in terms of like story, but also in terms of art style. So I think that's probably why they don't have anything that is like a preview clip at the end of Part 3. I think it's just basically one of those like just wait until it comes out, and then you'll know like the chaos and hilarity that'll ensue in the future iterations of JoJo Bizarre Adventure.
I have to say MVP, though, is Palmeroff and Iggy, and I think Iggy takes the cake because the way that the battle with, I guess it's called Pet Shop, right?
Yeah, holy fuck, that bird is fucking badass.
What a scary guard bird.
Yeah,
right?
no, because it's super non-suspense. I mean, anytime it's like whenever you watch anything, right? Whether it's live action, whether it's a cartoon or whatnot, if you see a bird on screen, most of the time you know shit's about to go down, and none more so.
Oh,
than
shit
that
did go
fight
down
between Pet Shop and Iggy. Holy fuck, that was such a good fight. The part where all of a sudden the floor is encased with ice, Iggy's foot gets caught, and you're just thinking like, the dude's done. Like, this is game over.
Yeah.
Like, bye Iggy.
The first time, like, he psyched us out with sort of basically the substitution jutsu, I was like...
yeah.
I was like, oh, I saw that coming from a mile away. But what I didn't see was him literally biting off his own leg. Like, that's insane. And then how that story wraps up, like how that battle like proceeds from there. It just keeps going and going and going. And I don't know where it's going to go. And I literally thought he was going to die then and there, only to be saved by that one guy that one kid that he saved. And so it's kind of like this kind of like karma, like the cycle. So I thought that was pretty sweet. And then kind of Iggy's determination from that point onwards to be like, guess what? I'm not here for the fame. I'm not here because like I want to save the world. I just want to fucking wreck some shit because they fucked me up. So guess what? An eye for an eye, a tooth for a tooth, right? And I was just like, yeah, dog. I mean, literally, yeah, dog. Let's go, right? I think Palmeroff, his sort of, like his character development, even within battle in Egypt, with his sister and stuff. Or was it in the first half? Or
he very much starts off as a very immature, cocky motherfucker, right?
yeah, and now he the sort of trials and tribulations that he went through with Iggy during that fight with essentially Vanilla Ice, which I thought is like primo name, but okay.
Of all people to reference as one of the most badass antagonists in part 3, like, dude, Vanilla Ice is fucking killer. I fucking love Vanilla Ice. I mean, damn, that guy is a beast.
Like that.
It was actually kind of tough watching some of those fights because goddamn, like as much as it's like, yes, you have your issues with Avdol and you didn't have the best of starts, and these characters did take some time to kind of grow on you, but damn, like when you saw the end of those characters, I teared up a bit for Iggy. I felt really, really bad, and that's the thing. That was one thing I was talking to you about as well.
It reminded me of Caesar.
Yeah, no. Basically, every season there is always going to be that one character that is so closely connected, not with JoJo, but with the viewers that that you can't get attached to, because if you do, you're going to love their journey, but you're going to be crushed at the end of it.
And I think Pomerov's basically being one of the few people that survived everything is like kind of like earned in a way, because I feel like his character really developed from beginning to end, whereas Avdol literally just pieced out again, but this time for good. And out of nowhere, okay, yes, it is. He did it out of the kindness of his heart because he is someone that stands by values, idealism, and just kindness. But at the same time, he said, like, dude, guys, like, every man for himself. Like, we're all trying to kill Dio, but fuck it. Like, if shit hits the fan, peace out. Like, no hard feelings, right? Like, we better all of us die. Better one of us live than all of us die, right? And then proceeds to go against it, right? And I was just like, okay. And then he died for real, and I was just like, okay. And I thought he ends up being the weakest again. Like,
I love Avdol, but at the same time, it's just I felt like he could have really gone the distance, and the way that he kind of went out was poetic, but it left a lot to be like desired as well. The other thing I wanted to talk about as well is with Iggy and his death in the series, you're kind of starting to see a trend with Hirohiko Araki, the mangaka and the creator of JoJo, and how he treats dogs in the world of JoJo. Because remember, in the first season, Dio throws a dog in a furnace and burns it alive.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's not fun being a dog in JoJo.
Dude, Vanilla Ice. I can't believe I can say this sentence with zero irony. Vanilla Ice kicks
relation, no connection whatsoever to real life IRL fucking like 3D
the music artist, Ninja Turtle, Ninja Go, right? But he kicks the shit out of Iggy, dude. Like fucking
goddamn.
Like that was like Peter should have seen that shit and being like, bro, like
it was hard. It was really hard watching that.
It was. And so let's go into the whole enemies with the Darby brothers, right? I thought it was the video game thing was awesome. I thought it was great.
I loved it.
The mind games, the meme of yes, no was great. How it resolved itself was great. I really had no qualms whatsoever. Nothing but good things to say about both of the Darby brothers in terms of their battle. And it was just so riveting, right? It's like Mario Kart and like
the baseball
game, and it's just really good. I like it, and it is very easy to trick that younger Darby brother, I guess, with Joseph essentially controlling rather than Jotaro, but at the same time, that's like a very small qualm in what I would think was a pretty cool sequence overall, right? So
yeah, I think like amongst all the fights across like the different parts of JoJo, like part 3 definitely had some of the more unique like non-contact, non-physical fights that were also like the ones that stick out amongst the pantheon of all fights within JoJo. If you ever even talk to any other JoJo fan, they'll almost definitely reference some of the battles that take part in Egypt for part 3. God damn, like I mean, I'm still getting flashbacks from all those episodes, from all those fights that happened. If I was to rewatch part 3, I probably would still be able to enjoy it to the max. It's a good time watching part 3, despite all the issues that happen within. And it's just because you know, the series itself has issues. It's not going to please everybody.
Yeah, and let's talk about my main concern with the second part of Battle in Egypt, which is about the logic gap. So with Vanilla Ice, for example, the dude decapitated himself to sort of show loyalty and yet revived himself by Dio. How can you not know that you're going to be a vampire? Fine, okay? Fine, okay? That's like, I'm starting from the least egregious to the most egregious. Then comes the random, like, two-faced vampire that is in charge of being a hostage and then opening Dio's coffin. That was kind of, like, very, very whatever as well. But again, like, I get it's a stand-in to sort of display Dio's powers, right? Of manipulation of time, but then you did that with Palmroth already, so it's just like, I don't know, but okay, that's already like not that egregious. Then we get into what I would like to call the Dragon Ball Z Matrix Revolution battle with Dio and Jotaro, which is still pretty well done, right?
No, I thought the fight was fantastic. It was awesome,
And the
but
fact
there were of course a lot of holes along the way.
I thought it was pretty smart to lead Jotaro and Dio to lead Jotaro back to Joseph's body. I thought that was like I did not see that coming, actually. I thought that was a pretty cool thing. I thought the whole Dio sequence with that senator and that car running over those people just to display sort of like the ruthlessness of Dio and how much he doesn't give a shit, I thought was awesome. All right. The moment he kills Dio, okay? First of all, like, the dude ends up being on, there's like blue flames or something.
Yeah, there's
like,
a whole lot of fire, yeah.
I'm like, burn him. And like, also, like, before that, he was like, Jotaro's like, oh, I don't want to show you any compassion. You're the person I will show least compassion to. But it will leave a sour taste in my mouth if I were to like hit you when you're down. I'm like, bruh. Like, this guy did all these things for to all your friends, also your entire family generation bloodlines throughout the eons. If you don't kill him now, like, it's game over for the world.
The whole time in season 1 of part 3, where he's just a disobedient punk. Now's the time you choose to grow up and like actually see that the world is not black and white. Like, no, this is the wrong time to have that kind of revelation. You know,
it's like, it's like akin to something like, oh, I will let you live, Hitler, but like, wag your tail, like you're on death's door, but I'm gonna, because I'm an upstanding citizen, even though I'm not. Like, I'm gonna.
Oh yeah, it's like when you see like the villain like kills like your friends and family, and then you get to the end, and it's like, I will not become you. But along the way to that journey, you've also killed a shit ton of people. What Jotaro did was just like, yeah, no, I'm not gonna be you. But at this very moment, it's like, no, you actually need to kill Dio, because if you don't, then bruh, like, you saw what he did to your dad, your grandfather. You saw what he did to Kakuy and all the other members in your party.
Also,
like, this is not the time to be a saint. You should absolutely obliterate this guy.
Also, shout out to the Speedwagon Foundation for not only restoring Kakuy's eyes, but also just made him a brainiac, because he figured out.
I forgot that he got blinded for a good part of the series.
Yeah, and he showed up at an awesome moment when Iggy's is leading them to the manor that Dio is housed. So, but like, he was the one who figured out that the powers that Dio has with the world, right?
Yeah, actually, that's what I wanted to talk to you about. Like, how did you feel about that part with Kakuen, where like he literally has to sacrifice himself to be able to reveal the power that Dio has.
Dope.
It was very, very like bittersweet. I was just like, damn, like you really are like a trooper. You really are a team member. But holy fuck,
It's like
what a way to
Caesar
go.
with that bubble
Yeah.
in the end. Like that was like, I think there was like a blood bubble or like a bubble with his scarf or something. I forgot what it was, but like it was like the last hurrah to basically do his part to ensure that Dio does not get his way, only for at the very last second to kind of have Jotaro being like, yeah, you know what, like I'm gonna kill you, but I'll kind of give you an out, right? Okay, so that's already like, that really, like, it just irks me, like really, like, just doesn't, I'm not like a big fan of it whatsoever. Then comes after that fight with Dio, and what happens to Joseph, Grandpa Jojo.
That's it. That's exactly the part that I was thinking you were talking about, and that's also the part where I'm like, I guess this is just Jojo then, right? Like,
Right.
No need to explain anything. Just I guess this is happening.
No, okay. First of all, I thought like that was dumb. The blood transfusion.
I thought Joseph was as good as dead. It's like, this is it.
Yeah.
Like now Jotaro is going to have to carry on the Jojo
Right.
bloodline.
But you see, they did not have that dialogue window that says he's dead.
Yeah.
So I knew that there was something going on, but I did not expect a literal revival. Okay.
Yep.
Then
The true Phoenix down right there, right?
Exactly. Then there was that psych out of like, oh, I am Dio, but now in Joseph's body. And I thought at that point, I was like, okay, all right, I see where this is going. Okay. I kind of take it back a bit, only for it to be like a red herring literally within seconds. And then I was like, okay, but he's just pretending because he's really Dio, though. And then clearly he's in the sunlight. So unless if that is also a fake out, I'm just like, then what's the point of having him being revived? Like, I don't know. I'm sure maybe it will come back. I don't know.
I mean, you just have to keep watching parts 4, 5, 6, and beyond, right?
Yeah, but I just thought like that last like 5 minutes was just utter shit. Like it really was.
Harsh, but I mean, like, I'm not going to take that away from you. I mean, I had my problems with it as well.
Like, why did you not kill Dio right then and there? Made a whole speech when there were even a sliver of a chance that he might make it out. Okay, then the revival thing, and then like, that part really bothered me because that was really bizarre to me. So maybe, I guess, kudos Jojo, because that,
well, the most important thing happened, in which Jojo's mom is safe. Jojo's mom is no longer afflicted by the curse.
Oh, by the way, is it Susie Q? Well, Q, what's her name?
Susie Q, yeah.
Dude, like, hardened grandma, man. Like, fucking just, she's like on her way, like the chauffeur is trying to be like, I don't want to tell her, but like, and then it turns out that she knew all along, and then she's just like, that part's not surprising, but the part is just like, she also was said like, oh, I'm afraid, but what can we do? The best we can do is believe. And I thought like that was just awesome. Like, that's the whole part, is like Jojo is like this upstanding, believe in human decency, human kindness.
There is good in humans, right?
Yeah.
Good in humanity.
But Jotaro, please pick your opportunities better, okay? All right.
He's still a rambunctious little brat, right? Like he's never really gonna grow out of his rebellious phase.
Also, I was hoping for a random love interest, but I guess maybe not. I don't know.
I guess I'll have to keep watching then, right?
Oh my god, is it? I'm gonna find out in like the first episode of part 4 and being like, this is the logic leap that you're gonna go? Fine, I'll deal with it. Fine. So
there's gonna be a lot of logic holes in season 4 and 5 and 6. I don't think any of those are gonna change, but I guess that's just the appeal of JoJo. Sometimes you really do not need to throw logic into the mix.
Yeah, I mean, I did say throughout the GWEA is like, throw logic out the window, right? But sometimes it just is tempting.
You're still human, right? You still got to think around like the realms within your own possibilities, within your own realities, and like just like in this world, 2 and 2 doesn't make 4. Sometimes it makes 5.
Yeah, and
it's it can be confusing.
and I can't isolate JoJo from all of the rest of anime or fictional media, right? Like it's just not possible to do that for me personally. And I think it's irresponsible in a way to just be like, oh, they get a pass because it's JoJo. I mean, for some things, yes, but sometimes no. So overall, though, it was a great introduction to the stands, a great reintroduction of some characters like Joseph. I finally witnessed Jotaro growing up, Palmarov growing up, Iggy being MVP, and Kakouin being relevant and being awesome even till the bitter end. Avdol's a bit whatever, but hey.
At least he made an impression of sorts.
Of sorts, yeah. Just don't read Japanese etched on like pillars next time.
Yeah, do not do that.
Yeah.
So no, that was a very glowing review of JoJo Part 3. I'm glad that you're enjoying the journey, and I really, really, really look forward to how you review parts 4 and beyond.
So
I think
Diamond is Unbreakable, right? Is part 4?
Diamond's Unbreakable, part 4. And
all
then
right.
part 5 is Golden Wind, and then part 6 is Stone Ocean and beyond.
Okay, cool. All right. So that wraps up part 3, Stardust Crusaders of Gotta Watch Them All for me. All right, Will, how do you want to go about Monogatari? Because I understand that you just mentioned, and I also agree that like
it's hard to just talk about Monogatari, the final season, without going into spoilers. So what I suggest is, I know that I didn't really like sort of give you any pointers on how I wanted to sort of structure this conversation, but I'll do the best I can as we're doing this recording, sort of guide you like what my thought process is and how I want to go about talking about the final season. So let's give this 5 seconds.
Okay, so actually before that, let's mention a bit of an issue with the Monogatari series in terms of watching it. I think that is important because technically speaking, we go in novel release order. There
are 4 parts to the final season, which is Tsukimonogatari. Then you have Owarimonogatari, which is split across 2 seasons. So in between season 1 and season 2 of Owarimonogatari, you have Koyomimonogatari, which is like 12 half episodes that initially in 2016 when it released was only available in Japan on a mobile app, but since then has now been released on a paid subscription for Funimation, so you can still access it, but there was a period of time when people couldn't watch it. Then you go into like second half of Owarimonogatari, and then you end with Zoku Owarimonogatari. Now, as of recording, there is still no way to legally stream Zoku Owarimonogatari. The only ways you can watch it at this moment is if you are in Japan watching it on Netflix, in which case there's going to be no English subtitles. And you could also purchase the Blu-rays or the DVDs. They're pretty expensive. Actually, not too expensive. I think I was looking on Amazon earlier, and that's the Blu-ray for Zoku was around $35-$36, and the DVD version for some reason is $160.
I think there's also like a Chinese.
Yeah, I think so. There might be like other streaming services that are non-English that you could probably access Zoku on, but luckily for me and Jason being an all-star, Jason does have the Blu-ray version of Zoku Owarimonogatari.
Guys, I just had to know.
Unfortunately, despite the fact that I've had a fair amount of time in North America to watch it, my MacBook doesn't have a Blu-ray or even a DVD player on it. It's fully USB-C. And then when I got to Toronto, my brother-in-law's PS4, which does have a Blu-ray player, the PS4 doesn't work. So I actually wasn't able to watch Zoku, but I did watch the other 3 parts. So for the purpose of this discussion, we will only really be talking about Tsukimonogatari, Owarimonogatari, as well as Koyomimonogatari. We wish we could talk about Zoku, but A, I didn't watch it, and B, it's really, really hard to watch it legally. So apologies, but not much else we can do.
Maybe we'll add it as like a bonus later down the line, I guess. But the thing is that we were trying to figure out how to split this, because Owarimonogatari being the main portion is split into two parts. So would you watch a bit before, a bit after? But we'll decide to bite the bullet and be like, you know what, fuck it, let's just watch all of it. So, Will,
Yeah.
you wanted to get straight into spoilers,
I'm just
right?
gonna jump around from like the different parts. So good to do a 5-second break and then come back and start doing the spoiler section.
Yep.
All right. So 5 seconds starting now. All right. If you're tuning into this part now, we are going to go into all of, well, at least 3/4 of the final season of Monogatari, which will be Owarimonogatari, Tsukimonogatari, Koyomimonogatari. We'll go into order later on. So everything we're going to be talking about is pretty much going to be spoiler because, like we've mentioned before, you can't really escape from it. You have to talk about the spoilers in order
Wait,
to
Will,
really
did you
fully
know
talk
that
about it.
Monogatari means story?
Yeah, and every story, every arc itself is a portmanteau. It's a combination of two different words, something Monogatari. Just like how Bakemono and Monogatari are two separate words, you put them together, and it's one of the greatest series of all time.
Yo.
So let's start off with Tsukimonogatari, which is a short 4-episode part of the final season. Now, the main focus of this particular part, just to sort of go into like the whole etymology of the name, right? So Tsuki itself is the Japanese word for to possess, and then Monogatari is story. So it's like possession story or like a story about being possessed. So as a kind of like a quick synopsis, it's very much focused on, I guess, sort of challenging the ideas of what oddities are, what you really see, what you really feel, and just generally sort of try to understand what the chaos and craziness that exists within this world of Monogatari. Like, we've already seen some real crazy shit that's already happened in the first and second seasons. Season 3, like, the final season itself, sort of wraps everything up, but it does take quite a while to get to it because this is still Monogatari. There's still going to be a lot of exposition, a lot of monologues. So it's not different at all from the previous parts. So Tsukimonogatari focuses on a specific character that shows up. Her name is Yotsugi Ononoki. So that's the
doll,
the expressionless, kind of lifeless doll.
Love her.
That has more of like a presence in the second season and really starts to shine in the final season. So it's essentially going over learning about the reasons for why oddities exist. Started to sort of shine more light into the mysterious character that is Izuku Gaien and what her purpose is within this whole Monogatari series, and what Koyomi Aragi has to do to be able to confront these oddities, solve mysteries, and really put an end to all this craziness that's happening around him, because essentially all the stories we've seen so far revolve mostly around him. So I have a couple of things I wanted to sort of get off my chest and talk with regards to Tsukimonogatari. I've mentioned to you before, Jason, and also on the podcast itself, that Nisei Monogatari was my least favorite part of all of Monogatari, at least up to the point of where I was watching.
Oh no.
I have to say that Tsukimonogatari is kind of close to not being my favorite part, my favorite story arc of Monogatari. And I think it's just because it just, I guess it's a representation of the character of focus, which is Yotsugi Ononoki, the expressionless doll. It felt very lifeless. It felt unemotional. It felt kind of rigid and not quite akin to how the other story arcs were told. The gripes I had with Nisei Monogatari was nothing to do with the story, but more about what was happening on screen. And Tsukimonogatari kind of just felt very blasé, very, very, like, not as entertaining. I don't know. It sounds harsh because I still very much enjoy watching Monogatari no matter what. It just didn't spark joy. It didn't spark enthusiasm as I was watching it. Granted, with only 4 episodes, that's generally the length of each story part in general. I just didn't really get all that excited about watching Tsukimonogatari.
I think Tsukimonogatari, I kind of have a soft spot for, mainly because I like the doll a lot. and also because it really puts into perspective, in my opinion, the main crux or the main dilemma that is going to be the main issue throughout of the final season, which is about Koyomi's like graduation, as well as the vampire non-vampire type of situation.
Yeah, that main like pseudo like half like hybrid vampire being that is Koyomi, after what happens between him and Nadako in the second season. It's very much the focal point of the final season. You need to, because that's how it started in the first place, and that's how you're going to have to wrap everything up. So it's actually interesting you talked about Yotsuki, because as much as I felt that this particular story arc was not very interesting, this also was the beginning of where I started to really, really, really like Yotsugi. And I think it's just because like she serves her purpose to a T, in that like she is literally just there to exist, to continue moving the story along without really taking any consideration for herself, because like she said, I'm literally just a corpse. I'm a lifeless doll. You can do whatever you want with me. I'm just here to make sure that we get from point A to point B, regardless of what I need to do to get us there.
Yeah, and I think also one thing that Tsukimonogatari does that is extremely important is that riffs or questions that people kind of wanted to put off is starting to have to be addressed. For example, the Fire Sisters, right? Araragi's two younger sisters,
and Karen.
Right. There is an issue going there about them either splitting up the Fire Sister duo or them finding their own path. So that is an issue. Then there is the issue of, just Meme Oshino not being able to do the thing that he usually does.
Man, Meme was very much a missed presence throughout the final season. But, we'll get into, his character much later in this discussion.
And I think Shinobu's relationship with Araragi is tested and then solidified.
It's definitely called into question, right? Because it's how they started, and it's how they're going to end, right?
Yeah.
Interesting you brought up the Fire Sisters, because that was the other issue I had with Tsukimonogatari. More than half of it was very much still the things that I really, really, really don't like about Monogatari, and it's the fact that Koyomi is still incestuous horn dog.
Yeah.
And that the Fire Sisters don't do anything really to cover themselves in glory, or even cover themselves in general. You know damn well what I'm talking about, because goddamn, like do you really need to see them naked anymore throughout this series, right? I thought I was done with Nisei Monogatari.
I didn't want to see it. I wanted to just hear the dialogue for the most part. I didn't want to see it. It was like uncomfortable. And like not
very uncomfortable,
and not by design, I think, right? Like it's just, yeah. But going back to just all of it, I just feel like the cogs of literally the final season of the main series is setting in motion, and it all stemmed from the perspective of all things. A lifeless, emotionless, deadpan, monotone doll. I just thought was quite beautiful. Now, I do agree it is quite weak, the story. The dialogue is still pretty solid, but it's just not up to par.
That's just the mainstay of any sort of like product that Nishio has, right? Like, I want to talk more about Nishio later on, because there's actually quite a bit I want to sort of go over, and what he represents as the creator of Monogatari.
What do you think of the third senpai, though?
Sorry,
the third senpai. So there's Gaian, the girl that knows everything. There's Meme,
his sister. Yeah,
the Meme that is neutral. Sorry, the fourth senpai. Then there is the the onesang, which owns the doll, or like is sisters with the doll kind of thing. Then there
Yeah.
is the guy who makes origami at the temple.
Yeah, so we'll get into that because he has much more of a presence in the second half of Owarimonogatari.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. So I'll go into the first half for season 1 of Owarimonogatari. So that one is 12 episodes, but the first episode split across in 2 parts. So technically, there's 13 episodes.
I'm interested in hearing the first, basically Owari 1. I want to know.
So this is you're probably not gonna like what I'm gonna say.
Yeah.
As much as I feel like this is par for the course, it's very, very, very monologue and dialogue heavy. It's a mainstay across the whole Monogatari series, or even just anything that Nishio does to writes and puts on screen. But I think this was the part where I started to get Monogatari fatigue. Like at least when you're watching Baki Monogatari, it's dialogue heavy, monologue heavy, exposition heavy, but it was split across different characters, right? You had Senjukahara, Hanekawa, you had Nadako, you had Snail Girl, I forgot her full name, and then you also have Kanbaru. All right, so at least then it's like, whilst it is very heavy on the words, heavy on the dialogue, it's focused on different characters. You get to refresh yourself every so often, and then you also have the introduction of the crazy badass woman that is Shinobu. Second season, some of the story arcs are the best in my opinion across all the series. Watching Owarimonogatari though just got me thinking, like, how much more of this story do I need to sit and watch before I actually get to start enjoying some of the crazy shit that make me like really, really like Monogatari in the first place? Because as much as the whole point of this Monogatari series is that it is very much trying to be as close to a carbon copy of the novel itself that Nishio wrote. And props to Shaft, right? Shaft did an amazing job of recreating at least as close as possible to what Nishio had written, right? And this is the kind of thing that I wanted to sort of go over with Nishio and his whole importance to the world of Monogatari. Very, very clearly, whether you're watching it in anime form or reading it in novel form, or even in the manga, there's a manga for it as well. The penmanship, the wordsmanship of Nishio is S tier. He is an amazing writer. Like you can just tell that, like, the way that he shapes dialogue, the way that he chooses words, the way that he even like uses like different ways of putting words together, expressing words together, expressing feelings that don't necessarily like even the most seasoned of writers, readers, and whatnot may be like, oh wow, I did not expect this, or like I did not see this word being used in this way. I think the main thing with Monogatari though is because that since it's written in Japanese, to be able to translate it into English or any other language, a lot of meaning will get lost. And I think that's kind of where the issue is for most watchers or readers of Monogatari, in that whilst Shaft did an amazing job in recreating it in anime form, there's still a lot that can be missed. And I feel that as long as both you and me or any other listener that's listening to this watches and consumes Monogatari, if you're not a native Japanese speaker or native Japanese reader, you're never going to really get like the full emotion, the full understanding of the Monogatari series. And I felt that's kind of like where I was started to doze off a bit in Owari, because a lot of the focus of the message of Monogatari, a lot of the elements that make such an encapsulating story that is Monogatari, it can be lost in translation when you're watching it or reading it in English, because you can't necessarily translate everything word for word. Because with translation, with interpretation, there's many methods to it. You can either do it literally, you can do it poetically, you can do it contextually. Monogatari is such a unique storyline that, because there's no genre that really defines what it is, it's really hard for you to figure out the best way to translate one word to another, one context to another. And so when I was watching the first half of Owarimonogatari, I started just either feeling lost or feeling a bit disconnected from what they were trying to convey in the first half. Now, it might just be because, one, I'm super tired and I really like, didn't have as much energy watching it this time round, but it just felt that like I had already seen all this. I already like had experienced all this, and unless I am like completely fluent in Japanese, it's not necessarily sinking in me as much as I'd hoped. It might just be like a personal thing. I feel that, I mean, this is an extremely popular series, and like whether or not you are a fluent Japanese speaker or reader, it shouldn't really detract your appreciation and attention to the Monogatari series. I just felt that I just started feeling a bit more lethargic and trying to fully understand the Monogatari story during Owarimonogatari. That was like the main issue that I had. I still gave the series itself, like that particular season, an 8 out of 10 because I mean, it was still beautifully animated. There were a lot of like good interactions with the story, and it started to allude to like greater things to happen that would basically be that big bombshell ending of the whole Monogatari series. It just felt like it was just really, really slow, and it took me a long time to really understand where things were going and getting me excited to be ready for it.
So let me first say I actually quite agree with how you feel. And I only appreciated essentially the first half of Owari more after I finished all of it, right?
Yeah.
So the first thing
it's very much like you don't just watch it once. You don't just consume it once. You very much have to see everything else that comes afterwards, and then maybe like rewatch that part again.
Yeah.
Or like rewatch other parts and then get back to that point and be like, oh, that's what happened. Because again, we've talked about before, whenever they have those flashing screens of text from the actual novels themselves, how often are we actually pausing and reading it and then unpausing and then continuing the story and then so on? It's like,
and to be fair, they calmed it down.
You can't just watch Monogatari all the way through one time and understand everything. Even if you are a fluent Japanese speaker or reader, you're not going to be able to understand everything just from one playthrough.
Yeah, they did calm that kind of part down. They either slowed the flashes or they put less stuff on there. So the first thing I would like to say is that the Ogi formula, which is the name of that story arc, which takes place literally like a bottle episode in the classroom, I thought, and also the one proceeding afterwards, which randomly out of nowhere comes a new waifu, quote unquote, is Sodachi. So first thing I would like to say is Sodachi's performance, the voice actress, was quite phenomenal in terms of conveying her like wide spectrum of emotions. And I think Ogi formula, as well as Sodachi Riddle, Sodachi Lost, is providing the context of how Araragi became the person that he is at the very beginning of Bakemonogatari. It is also interesting because there is very little, quote-unquote, like, oddity, violence, fighting in both of these.
In all of the final season, actually.
Yeah.
Only until the very end.
Exactly. So it is a very different kind of thing all of a sudden out of nowhere when you just watch Owari. Then all of a sudden you don't get the violence that you're expecting or gore or crazy action. You do get the dialogue, but now it's just the dialogue, right? I do think, though, the context is quite important. And with Sodachi in particular, when you said about like Lost in Translation, it is actually super, super important about Nishio's writing style, because I think towards the very, almost at the end of the Sodachi's like saga, like when that gets quote unquote resolved, she texts Araragi on his phone, like a message or something. And I did not know this until like afterwards, that, and this was only brought to me by the woman who recommended Monogatari to me in the first place, who read it in Japanese, is like, oh, did you know that text message actually contains a hidden message? And I'm like, shut the fuck up. And then I Googled it, and actually it contains a hidden message that is bonkers to me. Like, Nishio's writing is that crazy that somehow that was crazy relevant. It's something to do with like the letter spacing and the literal reading in between the lines to convey the hidden message is just insane to me. But no one who doesn't speak a lick of Japanese will know that, or I didn't know that. It was only brought to my attention by someone who actually not only watched the whole show, but then read the novels. Like, I guess I could have Googled it or read a Reddit comment, but there was no way instinctively for me to know that. And I cannot fault you for that, right? I do think that there was a lot of emotions that came out of, and also historical facts about Araragi that came out of the first half of Owari. But really, other than it adding to, like, it's like it makes the pot richer, but it doesn't make the pot necessarily better or more satisfying.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
and that's why, like, when you were talking about, like, once you finish the second season of Owarimonogatari, that's when you're like, oh, so now I can actually appreciate what I saw in the first season, because, and this is where, like, the genius in, like, Nishio's writing is, right? Like, even if everything is put to you on screen when you first watch it, you are going to completely miss it, no matter how good you are with Japanese, no matter how, like, acquainted you are with the stylings and the writings of Nishio Isin. Like, you're going to miss it. You're not going to be able to enjoy and, like, fully understand everything from initial viewing. But once you finish watching Owari's second season, that's when you're like, oh my god, it hit me. And that's how I felt after watching it too, because goddamn, Owari second season was really damn good. Was eye opening, and you knew, like, from the beginning that this was going to happen, but then it actually does happen. You're like, I did not see that coming, or like, holy fuck, this all makes sense now. This is why we were watching Monogatari in the first place.
quick thing, and this is kind of, I don't think a lot of people have this kind of opinion, but the Sodachi Lost and Sodachi Riddle arc, I really like the OP, but that's my personal thing, really. I don't think
we're gonna have a little bit of a discussion about OPs later on.
Yeah, but so tell me about.
So without even talking about, like, Zoku, I'm sure, like, we'll find time when the time is right to talk about Zoku. But the reason why I'm not even talking about Koyomi yet is because I just wanted to focus on the brilliance, the progression of Owarimonogatari. Now, we've seen it before, especially with, like, the second season, where things just kind of take a little bit long to really brew and stew. But once, like, the soup's ready, you're like, that's a damn good tasting stew. And that's basically how I felt after finishing Owarimonogatari. It was, like, a very satisfying ending. It was really, really great to see that Mayoi, Snail Girl, comes back, because she has never left. She's always going to be a pivotal part of this oddity curse. She's always going to be part of this world as long as Araragi exists. And Shinobu is also going to have a part in this, no matter whatsoever.
Hey,
right?
and guess
Every
what?
character that you see in the first part, they're going to be here.
And guess what? The snail tries to find her way home, but someone else, Mayoi guided someone else home.
Yeah.
And I thought, like, poetic, like, oh my god, like, hats off, right? But anyways, yeah, sorry.
Yeah, like, after watching, like, the first half, I was ready to deride it. Not deride it, but more just like, man, I don't know. Like, is this just, just pretentious, like, oh, trying to act smart because you think that you understand, Monogatari and all that.
Oh, you're
then
hot shit, Yeah.
Yeah, because okay, let's be real. It's not complex in that sense where you're just like, oh, this is big brain thinking. You have to really, really get into Nishio to understand the brilliance that is Monogatari. No. That's not what like this is about at all. But it does require a level of dedication and a level of appreciation for the absurdity of how good of a writer Nishio is. Because damn, it literally all came full circle. From the beginning when you started watching the first minute of Bakemonogatari to the point where at the very, very end, when Ogi is standing outside that classroom and Araragi runs to her, however she, like, because, you know, the whole thing, like, I'm actually a little boy. Yeah. She then says, oh, you're just never going to change, are you? It's like, oh, I am changing. The only thing changing is I'm not changing myself. And that was like super poetic. Like it means nothing, but it means everything at the same time. It's like, what do you mean? Like, you're going to change. How can you not change yourself? It's like, oh, that actually does make sense. Oh, that's what the whole point of watching Monogatari was. That's what every single character that he's interacted with represents, right? From Ononoki, the like.
Were you gonna say Okonomiyaki?
Because her name was Yatsugi, right? So I was like, Okonomiyaki. Yeah, almost slipped.
Close.
But yeah, like those characters, like literally are just pure representations of the little insecurities, the arrogance, the hatred, the self-hatred that Araragi has for himself. And that's why at the end when he says, I'm changing things about myself. The only thing that's not changing is me. Was just like, yeah, just cut the cameras. This is it. Like we've just witnessed a masterpiece quote. Like, goddamn, I had to applaud that part too. And I understood what you were saying as well. Like talking about the whole Monogatari series, where it's like each part that you watch isn't necessarily going to be the best thing you'll ever watch. But when you add everything together, it's all some of its parts. When you add every single experience you had throughout Bakemonogatari through to Owarimonogatari, it's a perfect series.
Yeah,
it's a really damn good series.
Like Mayoi deciding to not get revived and working it out with Koyomi Araragi to be like, yo, you should go back. Okay, that was already pretty cool. Then the moment he comes back, you see Shinobu basically free of the shackles, so she can be whoever she wants, do whatever she wants, and she still chooses to basically be like, nah, son, without Araragi, I will fuck you up, Guyan. And then it turns out it was by design. Then he goes on a date with Senjugahara, just like in the first season, but it's a different date this time. Also kind of takes place in a car, kinda. And that moment towards the very end, it kind of felt like, you know, a soldier getting sent off to war like the night before, the day before type deal. Like this might be it, but it's not, but it feels like it. And I thought it was just such a lovely, romantic kind of, it's just a date. That's it, right? But
there was a whole lot to enjoy from watching those last 7 episodes of Owarimonogatari.
And then Shinobu,
it was the perfect summary of everything we consumed.
Yeah, and then Shinobu basically like putting Araragi like on her lap while prior to that playing baseball with like that fucking long ass katana that can kill oddities. I was just like, guys, what are we doing here? This is great. And then finally you find out like Ogi's purpose or Ogi's existence, then Meme showing up at the very last second, then Hanakawa showing up at the very, very last second being like, yeah, bro, like,
I got you.
Yo, I found Meme. You know how? I got a Harrier jet. Oh, by the way, it's all good. Like, I made some deals. It's fine. Don't worry about it.
You might be dating Senjugahara, but I'll always love you, kind of thing.
Yeah, and it's just like, hey, Senjugahara, you know, like, I'm willing to do this. I might be second place, but just so you know,
don't slip, because if you slip, I'm ready to take your place. And Senjugahara's like, okay, sure. I'm never gonna slip, but I appreciate that you're there for Koyomi.
Yeah. Also, I love you too, and I love you too, but also we're frenemies kind of thing. And then how Araragi deals or resolves the situation with Ogi, right? And kind of still is true to himself, right? And then literally the last
Literally, he has to be true to himself in order for the story to end, right? That was the purpose of why Ogi existed.
yes, and then literally as you mentioned, like very appropriately, the very last scene is essentially like same shit, different day, but everything is different. And also one of the most romantic scenes between Shinobu and Araragi ever, with Guyan being like, "You sure about this?" And then Shinobu,
It's like, if you move on, there's going to be no donuts where you go. It's like, I know, that's why I'm staying.
yeah, and also it's just like what he says. She said like, "Oh, if we ever lose our connection, I will live for 3 days to tell your story." And like it was in the most weirdest way, the most romantic thing ever. And in my opinion, I think Shinobu and Aragi's relationship is like not romantic, but like almost more important than that. You know
Like,
what
it
I mean?
supersedes like what he has for Sentrikahara, what he has for Hanakawa,
Like it's
what he has for Mayoi as well.
exactly, right? Like it's not perversion, romanticism, attraction. It's just without each other.
Unrequited love. It's
Yeah.
literally just love for each other beyond affection, beyond support. It's like, it's just pure love.
And I was so I didn't tear up, but I was so touched. Like
It was a very heartfelt moment. Yeah.
it really was. And the last scene to basically be like, well, you got to do what you got to do, man. And then he just runs off. And it's just, it puts a smile on my fucking face. Really.
Yeah. It was great. Very, very good. So that was Owarimonogatari, and what a perfect way to end. Well, not to end the overall series. We still have Zoku to talk about, which when I finally get my hands on some form of Blu-ray player, I'll be watching it for sure. But it'd be remiss to not talk about Koyomimonogatari as much as it feels kind of misplaced in all this craziness and all this wonderfully, beautifully written ending to the Monogatari series. I didn't like Koyomi Monogatari, but
I mean,
at the same time,
I think I told you
yeah.
it's like random fill in the blanks throughout the timeline, except the last one. Basically.
Literally, it's Koyomi, as in Koyomi Araragi, and it's Koyomi's story. It's Koyomi's tale. Literally, because I was like watching it too. It's just like, oh, they're playing Ren Eye Circulation again. Oh, they're playing Platinum Disco again. Okay, I got it. Okay, cool. And then like, that's when it's like, oh, these are literally just side missions to all the different story arcs that we had seen from episode 1 through to the end. For the most part, most of them don't matter at all.
The
Like,
donut
first
one was
11
pretty good though.
There were some nice ones. I think overall I gave it a 7 until the very, very end, when it's just like the last 2 minutes of all of Koyomi Monogatari, where you're like, wow, this is like literally the most important thing. Like, you didn't need to watch anything else before, but you watch those 2 minutes and you're ready for the second half of Owari, because you don't see that part, and that must have been like a real gripe for the people who
I was
actually
so
were
tilted
watching it.
I
Right?
was so
'Cause
tilted.
Because then you at the time you would have just gone from season 1 Owarimonogatari into season 2, and you'd just be like, what the fuck happened between? Like, when did this? Wait, hold on a second. What? And then you have to look on fandom pages. You have to try and see if maybe on Reddit somebody might have an explanation. But
It's
then
even more egregious than Hana, right? Like
Yeah.
Hana gets slotted in technically of novel release order in the middle of season 2, right? But like that one is kind of like, well, if you don't see the time skip, it's not that bad. But here, it's like it literally is like the thing that caps off that if you were to start Owari, you don't know what the fuck is going on. Like you literally don't know.
Yeah. And whilst you will know what happens, it's still very much like that was a massive plot hole to leave in there. It's just like anybody would have been pissed if they found out that there was a whole very important 2 minutes in Koyomimonogatari that you will never be able to consume until Venimation picked it up and started releasing it.
And it was just like, oh, you did it for the app? Well, fuck you.
And I get it. I get that, there's a lot of people in Japan that really love it, but there are also hella people outside of Japan that are like, I need to see this. Like, it's just, there's a whole world outside Japan, and everybody wants to see more about Monogatari, right? So overall, I think just to wrap up my thoughts on the final season and overall, like, the whole Monogatari series, it's a trek. It's very much a series that you cannot just go in kind of half-assed. Like, you really do have to commit to it, and it's not necessarily a negative thing on it. It's also not serving as a warning to anybody who wants to get into the Monogatari series, because I feel like any series you get into, you need some level of dedication to carry you from point A to point B. But the Monogatari series, it's like we've said it many times, it's a book. It's a whole ass novel from beginning to end, and you have to be there for the full ride to really appreciate it. And even if you don't understand it the first time, don't worry, take your time. Get back to watching the first episode. Watch it through again. This is not going to be one of those, like, you watch it once, you know everything. Hey, congratulations. No, this is something that you really do need to slowly grow your appreciation for. And at the end of it, it just makes the whole journey, like, so worth it. Like, I probably will need to rewatch certain story arcs just to really understand what the hell's going on. I mean, we'll need to pause whenever those little, like, novel clips, like, start flashing on the screen, just so that I can understand what the purpose is, where in the story I am, and how it's going to grow my, like, overall appreciation from point A to point B. I have to say, like, there's some really, really damn good anime series out there, and I probably still have them in my top 3. But the Monogatari series is absolutely something that, if you're willing to put the time into it, and you're willing to grind and try and learn every tidbit of the story, it just makes it worth it. You have to work hard to enjoy Monogatari. This is not like a walk in the park. You actually need to sit and read and listen.
So I think that concludes very succinctly Will and I's thought on the Monogatari main series. Now, I say main series because let's get into a bit about where GWA is going to head towards. For me, Jason, it's pretty simple. Watch more Jojo. Done. Easy. Let's keep going. For Monogatari, though, technically, other than Zoku, it kind of is in this weird limbo state, because even though this is called the main series, the story of Monogatari actually continues with the 4th Monogatari saga. So first, second, and final season. This is the 4th one, called Off Season, which focuses kind of like essentially on various characters. And then the big one being the 5th Monogatari saga, called Monster Season, about essentially Koyomi's life that continues. And I heard a lot of interesting things throughout the Monogatari saga, tidbits here that I shouldn't be spoiled, but I was too tempted to. But Shaft said that they are committed, because why wouldn't you? It earns a shit ton of money for them, probably.
I think with Shaft, no matter what, they're never going to be able to get away from Nishio. Like, I think they absolutely,
and they don't want to. Yeah.
They love Nishio's work, and so, like, it's only right that if at the right time they all sit down and put together all their efforts to be able to recreate and adapt Off Season and Monster Season. Now, that doesn't mean I'm going to go and start reading the light novel in preparation for the adaptation. No, I think at this moment I do need a bit of a break from Monogatari, because, okay, look, I love Tatami Galaxy. Very, very exposition and dialogue and monologue heavy. This is a whole different thing, right? This is, Monogatari is 10 times longer, 10 times more in depth. I still like Tatami Galaxy more, but that's just personal bias. But I would not hesitate for anybody who's ready to get into Monogatari to at least sort of guide them on how to enjoy it and what to look out for, or more importantly, just do whatever you want with it. Like, watch it for the first time. You're going to find a lot of enjoyment out of watching it.
Okay. So
I think now
Will,
we're going into some pretty heavy shit now, right?
yeah, we have gone quite at length, but the journey is not yet over because even though this is basically for the time being the end of Will's Monogatari gotta watch them all journey, Will has a report that he has to file for me. Namely, three types of reports, Will. You need to tell me, in terms of opening, your top 5, your story arcs top 5, and I would say finally we end on the most important question, your waifu top 5. And we'll try to make this as quick and like with nuggets of information and commentary in between. So, give it to me.
Starting off with the best openings, I think we've done this so many times with all of our awards and tier lists. I'm going to drop a special mention first, or
Sure.
just something that should have been there, but because I only have space for 5, unfortunately, I'm not able to cover more. But the special mention I do have is for at least for the best openings. If there was more space for it, it would have definitely been in there. Muso Express, or Delusion Express, or whatever it is, which was the third opening theme song for the second season of the Monogatari series. So that played during the Nadako Medusa story arc. That would be of in terms of TV broadcast, episodes 12 through to episodes 12 and 14. I really like that track because it's a little bit different from the other tracks, and not to mention as well, it's sung by it's still Kanahana. So very much enjoyed that one.
Who is she?
Who's Kanahana?
Who's Kanahana?
She's a very hardworking VA that has been working on a lot of different things. Maybe you might have heard of X, Y, Z, A, B, C, 1, 2, 3, literally every single anime
everything.
series, yeah.
Like she is probably the most well-known voice actress, like voice actress ever, I would say.
Now,
okay,
going into the things that actually make the top 5, in 5th place, I have the second opening theme of the Bakemonogatari series, the first season overall of Monogatari, Kaeri Michi, which is the main theme song for Mayoi Hachikuji. Now, you remember it was a very sort of like happy hardcore Eurodance kind of techno, very, very electronic and energetic. It's a lot more energetic than most of the different theme songs that occur throughout the Monogatari. But I just liked it because, low key, I really like Mayoi. I really like that character, and the song's lit. I very much enjoyed the tone of it, and it very much plays out like how that particular arc within Bakemonogatari plays out. So that takes the 5th spot for me. Number 4, all right. This one was in the
is Moso Express the jazzy one?
I don't, man. There were so many openings I can't remember, but I've definitely listened to it.
Okay.
Now there's going to be a theme with this as well, because as much as I do not like Nisei Monogatari, I actually do feature quite a lot of Nisei Monogatari openings.
Yeah, Platinum Disco. Here we go.
No, not that one.
Oh shit.
So when we talk about like Monogatari, I think like the most sort of representative openings, like outside of Red Eye Circulation, would be Stable, right? You would say that, I mean, at least in my opinion, I think that like is very much like the core, the theme, the ethos that is is Monogatari. Stable, right? Now, when I started watching Nisei Monogatari, there was a particular theme song called Futako Tome, which was performed by Chiwa Saito, the voice of Hitagi Senjigahara. It features in the Karen B Part 1 and Part 3 arcs of Nisei Monogatari. When you listen to it, it kind of sounds it sounds exactly the same as Stable, but the difference between those two is that they add an extra bass line in Futako Tome that I really, really, really like. And I'm mostly talking about this from like a music perspective, That's generally how I try to judge my openings, though of course the visual aspect does play a little part in it too. But I just like the vibe of it. I really like the music, and it was just it was pretty much like it just reminded me of what I really liked about Bakemonogatari, and it kind of helped me get through the tragedy that was Nisemonogatari. So that takes my my fourth spot.
Okay.
Now, in third, this one was later on in the second season, and you know exactly which one it is because, damn, that was a good opening track. It was a banger. I'm talking about Kogarashi Sentiment, which is the sixth opening theme song for Hitagi End in second season. So this was performed by the voice actress for Itagi Senjukahara, which is Chiwa Saito, as well as
Oh no, best
Kaiki.
best girl. What are you talking about?
Shinichiro Miki. That was just fun. It was very retro style. I liked the sort of open air convertible that they're driving in. Just
Was it
pretty
Ridge
much
Racer or
it was just fun.
It was
just a
good.
good
It's
track.
great.
Like, yeah, no, I really enjoyed it. Not much else to say really about it other than the fact that it just felt good. Definitely felt good. I mean, aside from the fact that, of course, you know, with Kaiki being the first and only male character that performs in an opening theme song for Monogatari, like for sure, then that means
that you know of.
yeah, that I know of, right? But at that point, then it's like, no, that's a legitimate claim for being in contention for best girl. Okay, now on to the second place. This one's a no-brainer. I think I've talked about Staple and how it's one of the most representative tracks of the Monogatari series, but you can't escape from the fluffiness, the fua feel of Renai Circulation. Now, this was, of course, performed again by Kanahana, the voice actress for Nadeko Sengoku, and I mean, it's fua as hell. Super fluffy, super cute, and used in so many different mashups. Like, I mean, a couple of weeks ago, Jason showed me the mashup of Renai Circulation with Anya from Spy X Family, and goddamn, that was perfect as hell. Like, you couldn't get away from the fact that, yes, Anya is, like, the main focus here, but, hey, man, Monogatari.
I mean,
great.
Not as good as that Kanye West and Evangelion remix, right?
Oh, dude, yeah, no, that's just like S+++ tier. Like,
Yeah.
you can't escape from that.
Fair enough.
Not much else I need to say about that because of the fact of how good that track is. But now going into my overall most favorite track of all of Monogatari, back on the Nisei Monogatari train. This time, now we can talk about Platinum Disco because that's just vibes. That's just vibes.
So good.
I just loved watching the opening for that particular arc. It's the third opening of Nisei Monogatari, performed by Yuka Iguchi, who's the voice actress for Tsukihi, the younger sister of the Fire Sisters. Also, like very, very like a nice little sort of. Would you say it's an Easter egg in the beginning of Tsukimonogatari when, of course, Araragi like bumps into the sisters whilst they're changing, about to go take a bath and all that. Like he then starts popping and locking.
Yeah,
and he actually does the dance to Platinum Disco. I'm just like, oh, you son of a bitch, you son of a bitch. I love that.
Yeah.
Oh man. Yeah, I mean, but anyway, you've heard me wax lyrical about Platinum Disco. Fucking great song. It's just cute vibes. Like you can't help but feel like you just bob your head and maybe even pop a couple, pop some shapes and just bob along the song. It's a good time, man. I have to say, like, Red Night Circulation will forever be that representative track of Monogatari, along with Stable. But like my own personal favorite will never be anything else but Platinum Disco.
Yeah, that's a pretty solid list. Yeah. All right.
On to the best arc. Now, I did take certain liberties with how to put this together because, and hear me out, I don't care about the roles, but there is, like, of course, reason behind all this madness.
The roles?
So now, of course,
You mean?
for the best arc, special mention, I'm just gonna put the whole Bakemonogatari series, like the first season together.
Oh, I see what you mean. Okay, yeah.
Because you can't really talk about like Tsurugi. You can't talk about monkey without talking about snake. You can't talk about snake without talking about snail. You can't talk about snail without crab and cat and all that. It all because it's the first fucking thing, man. You see everything.
I will be fair, right? Like, you kind of have to, with Bakemonogatari, include it as one whole product, because it is only later on when things get fragmented are you able to discern the differences, right? Like, you can't. I understand why you did that, and I actually, now that I think about it, I do agree with the way that you say it like that. Yeah, for sure.
Like it makes sense, right? It makes sense. Now, if I had to be nitpicky about like which particular arc I like the most from Bakemonogatari, Sengoku's arc. I like the snake arc. Fucking great, right? Now,
so you like Tentai, huh?
Yeah. Moving on to number 5.
Mm-hmm.
Now, again, slight liberties in terms of how I put this together, but I thought that in terms of the Tsubasa family and Tsubasa tiger arcs, because you can't really talk about one without the other. But of course, if I had to pick one, then I would talk about Tsubasa tiger. So this is the whole Neko black, Neko white story arcs of Monogatari. I just like seeing that ruthless killer side of Hanekawa, right? Like, I mean, I really like Hanekawa as a character, and it just was very refreshing to see that whilst there was Shinjukahara, who was badass, and there was Shinobu, who is literally like the one that you do not want to mess with, it was also nice to see that Hanekawa kind of, stacks up against, some of the best in terms of the main heroines of Monogatari. So I would like to group the whole family and tiger arcs together, but if I had to actually like pick one specific area, it would be tiger. I thought that was a really, really good arc, just because white haired and that sort of like white black gradient haired Tsubasa Hanekawa, fucking gorgeous, even though I prefer her having long purple hair.
Did you like that when she was talking to Ogi and then basically is like, oh, give me 10 seconds to literally like wipe off the dye in my hair to sort of like Sherlock Holmes this riddle thing? Do you remember that?
Yeah, that was I like that arc a lot, but not as much as the next one, which was focusing on Senjukahara, Hitagi End, the last arc of the second season. So
that's the airport run, right?
Yes, the one where they have to put on the different disguises, throw orange juice in each other's faces and all that.
God damn it!
But then, but I loved that particular part because you saw two different sides of two different characters. One, which is Kaiki, always being a swindler, always just messing things up. But actually, when you really think about like what he's doing, he actually has a heart. He actually's like, you know what? I don't have to be a dick all the time. I will do this something out of the goodness of my own heart. And at the same time, on the other side of that table, you have Hitagi Senjukahara, who is a hard ass, who is literally, you do not mess with this girl, otherwise she's going to literally staple your lips together. And you finally get to see her be vulnerable. You finally get to see her actually going out and asking for help, because as much as she wants to stand up for herself, wants to be strong, wants to get things done with her own bare hands, there are certain things that no matter what she does, she cannot achieve. And to actually see her break out of that shell, get off that throne, and actually go to someone in a time of need,
and of all people, to get to kind of
appreciate it. Yeah, you just appreciated seeing that vulnerability in Senjukahara. So that was a very, very beautiful end to the second season.
Oh, quick note with Kaiki.
Yep.
Kaiki went against a god and won.
Yep.
Can we just say that? Okay, we said that. Okay, good. Okay. A mortal went against an immortal and won. Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
Now then, not much to say about the next one because I've already talked about. I think I spent like 15 minutes straight just talking about it. Owarimonogatari, the second season. All of it, all 7 episodes put together. Like, it just encapsulated what I loved most about the Monogatari series. All right, good. Got that one out of the way. Now, the second best story arc that I loved. I've talked to you how much I love Nadeko, how much I love Hanakawa, and it's only fair that I would give the second place.
Did you get hurt?
Story arc was Nadeko Medusa.
Okay, I know where. Okay, yeah.
That was some of the most violent, some of the most what the fuck moments of
manipulative
all of
too.
Really, really crazy. Like, it really does play with your emotions and how you feel, like how you view certain characters. Like, of course, I've talked about how, like, literally just like seconds ago, about how there's a different side to Kaiki, has a different side to Senjukahara, but you never suspected that with, like, you knew like how powerful the oddity was within Sengoku, but goddamn, to actually see it play out on screen in full HD was just oof. It was breathtaking. It was a really it wasn't fun because it was actually, some parts were actually really hard to watch, but it stands as the second best for me, which then brings me to number one, and it's no surprise, it has to be Koyomi Vamp. That whole Kizumonogatari movie series, the 3 movies all put together, is probably the craziest, most enjoyable story arc of all time for me within Monogatari. Now, of course, makes sense. It's bloody as hell, action-packed, full-on, like, high-octane craziness. But that's exactly why, like, it earns my number one spot, because that was the this is like the very beginning of all this madness that ensues in Monogatari. Who Shinobu is, what she is, as not just like a powerful being, but also just as a central character to the whole Monogatari story, and what part she plays in the whole world that revolves around Koyomi. I mean, I've spent like a previous episode talking about it at length, and I don't think I need to say any more other than the fact that that is my number one story arc. Koyomi Vamp is the best story arc of all time for me, for all of Monogatari.
I agree with Kizu 100%.
It's just so fucking good. It's so goddamn good. Now,
All right.
the most contentious part of this this review that I need to send to you and publish by the end of this recording, we are now going into the final tier list, the final top 5, which is the best girl or best waifu of the Monogatari series. Now, this isn't just only limited to like the heroines of Monogatari. This could be really any character if you so choose. I have to give a special mention to Yotsugi Ononoki, the lifeless doll.
Okay.
Like we already mentioned as well. Mm-hmm. Very, very well written character, and blasé and boring with a purpose. Serves her purpose, and you really do get to enjoy her at the end, right? You get to enjoy her growth, or at least her mission to help others grow as the final season ensues, right? Now, number 5 has to go to Ogi Oshino.
Mm-hmm.
As much as the first time when I saw her do a 180 pivot on that bike during Hana Monogatari.
No, it's a dude.
Well, yes,
at that point. Yeah. No, I know what you mean. Yeah.
But at the same time, it's just like, that was it too. It's just like, who is this person? As much as each character is hiding a monster and oddity within them, or like a story that like doesn't necessarily unfold until you get to that end point of that particular arc, there's always that sense of, who the hell is this person?
And why does everyone kind of know this person already, but never showed up previously? Like, what the fuck is going on? Yeah, absolutely.
Like, I know her and I see her, but I don't know her and I don't know what I see. Like, that's literally what Ogi is. A personal favorite, but unfortunately, because the other 3 characters are just too powerful. In 4th place has to be Mayoi Hachikuji, Snail Girl. Because her story is tragic but poetic, and it's great to see that she has that great send off at the end of final season. I I just love her.
Okay.
I feel sorry for the fact that like she always gets fucking molested by Koyomi, but I guess that's just something that's never going to change. I mean, like literally at the end, I think it was in Owari, where he's like, "Oh, there you are. I'm totally not gonna go and run up to you and try and look at your panties." And then he runs up to her and tries to look at her panties.
Psych.
Yeah, exactly. Right? Huh? You thought. But then, yeah. So I love Mayoi. Now, it's no surprise that the top three are the top three, because I'm sure that if anybody were to make a top three for best girl, these three characters would be there. I'm just gonna list them in order.
Yeah, but which order? Yeah. Which order is it?
In third place is Shinobu.
Oh,
Yes, It's hard, man, because and the thing is, because like with Shinobu, unlike the other characters in which they have like themselves and their oddity form, there's so many different versions of Shinobu that it's kind of unfair, because you have like the immortal vampire that is Shinobu. You have the one that has lost all her powers, Shinobu, the one that loves donuts. You have the one that's on the in-between, that's like essentially fighting with Koyomi to be able to be like, no, join my side or die. Like that's why it's like, as much as there's so many different transformations and so many perspectives of Shinobu, it's because there's so many sides that you see everything, and of course you're going to make Shinobu your number one. And I feel it's a little bit unfair for the other characters. That's why I make Hitagi Senjukahara my number two. Because like when you do see the other side, you're just like, wow, you're attractive, smart, scary, daring. But at the same time, when you get to Hitagi N, you're just like, wow, there actually is a human being inside that human. There actually is a side that has compassion, that actually does have understanding and emotion. Which leaves the most lovable character, my personal waifu and best girl across all of Monogatari, Tsubasa Hanekawa. Who else would it have been? I've nonstop talked about this character in Bakemonogatari, in the Neko series, both black and white. Even if she doesn't have as much of a presence in final season, she already did her job. She stole my heart. I have to give the number one spot for best girl to Hanekawa. You can fight me in the comments if you disagree.
all
How'd I do?
right.
Did I throw any sort of like, did I throw a spanner in the works? I noticed you were a little bit wincy when I said that Shinobu was number 3.
Yeah, I did. Yeah.
But it's sound reasoning, or at least like in my opinion, that's how I made that list.
Look, it's not. There's no right or wrong answer, as much as people might want to say that, right? Like everyone's preferences and affinity with characters are different. You can't say there is a be all end all, right? Like,
Yeah.
but I knew that Hanakawa was number 1. Hitagi was probably number 2. So I'm not surprised at Shinobu. I just thought that you might bump off Senjugahara and put I thought you would put Senjugahara at number 4, put Nadeko at number 3, Shinobu at number 2, and Hanakawa at number 1.
I mean, it was,
and
really
Mayoi
tough.
number 5. That's what I thought.
It was really, really tough leaving Sengoku, like Nadeko, off that list. But like with the reasons I gave, especially with like the showings that Ononoki and Ogi Yoshino had in the final season, they just pulled themselves up in the rankings, and unfortunately Nadeko was the one who had to just about miss out. Like I'm sorry, but look, it was actually, that was the hardest part, picking best girl. It was very easy to do the openings, it was very easy to do the arcs, but best girl, best waifu, that was a bit of a struggle. As much as I could say that it was always going to be like Shinobu, Senjugahara, and Hanekawa in some order of top 3, it was the last 2 that were like, so many of these main heroines, so many of these characters do deserve to be in that top 5. And like, in the end, I had to make some cuts. Like, that's just it. Like, I don't follow all the rules, but there are certain rules I follow. So that's just how it's going to be.
I think that's fair. the fact that you finished Monogatari basically is, in my mind, mission accomplished on my end. So, and the fact that I think that you have both problems and like pros to say about Monogatari series is akin to just how awesome the series is, but nothing is perfect.
Yep.
And
so that pretty much wraps up, my thoughts, and also I guess in some extent Jason's thoughts on the Monogatari series. We already know what Jason's thoughts are because, I mean, they featured in so many tier lists and so many awards already. So what's next for my side now that I'm done with Monogatari? Well, you listened during the news section how we said that there might be a bit of a spoiler announcement when we were talking about the Nerve Gear VR, like IRL news updates. That's going to be my next Gotta Watch 'Em All series I'm going to be tackling. I am going to be watching for the first time all of Sword Art Online, or whatever has already been released. So I know there's, of course, season 1, season 2, Elization, a bunch of movies and all that. I will be going through all of that shit. And I'm really looking forward to it, despite, the hate that it kind of gets. I mean, there's much less of it now because it's been around for a while, so people have kind of cooled off on hating on SAO. But I'm looking forward to it. I'm about to get into this new VR MMORPG / isekai that's took the world by storm like 10 years ago.
all right, and we went a bit heavy on the length for this episode.
I don't care. I mean, like, there was just too much to talk about for Monogatari.
Yeah. I anticipated that. Right?
It would be criminal to just try and talk about final season as well as all of Monogatari in like 30 minutes. You just can't do that.
Yeah, that's why I was like, yo, we were thinking about adding some stuff in the reading watching. I was like, just cut it, because we need to give time. So I have no qualms, but thank you very much for staying all the way to the end of Will's Gotta Watch Them All for the Monogatari series, not for the end of all of Gotta Watch Them All. But you can always reach us through our email, gapalette@gmail.com. That's GAPALETTE@gmail.com. All lowercase, all one word. You can tell us how Senjugahara is better than Hanakawa using the handle @PaletteGood for Twitter, capital P and capital G, or one word. Or maybe Shinobu can be the best girl at any point in time through our GAP Discord server using the invite link in the show description. You can also stalk our website. We encourage you to check it out. Our website is www.goodanimepalette.com, all lowercase, all one word. Music credits for this episode. Our intro music is Ninth Power by Henyo. Our break music is Salamanca by Sarah the Instrumentalist. And our outro music is Golden Rules by Luax. You can support the music artists that we feature by listening to them on Spotify, Apple Music, or other various music listening platforms. And our royalty-free music was provided by Epidemic Sounds. Thank you very much, Epidemic Sound. If you're interested, you can sign up using our referral link in the show description to get the first 30 days of your 12-month plan for free. Terms and conditions apply. Woo! So, that was a doozy.
That was a very long recording, but I think it was absolutely needed because...
Absolutely.
Yeah. And I'm and like, when we were talking about this before, you were like, oh, there really isn't all that much to say about JoJo Part 3, and maybe put more focus on Monogatari. No, I mean, I wholeheartedly agree. I mean, there's just too much goodness in Monogatari to just only like talk about it for like 30 minutes. Like, I needed to you heard me. I just talked nonstop about it for like a good 15-20 minutes, and hopefully you stuck around, like the listeners, you guys stuck around to listen to my thoughts, because I hope that like my experience will be the same for you, in that it is a heavy, very, very dense anime series to get into. But once you get yourself started and once you start getting into the groove of things, you'll start picking up on what makes the series so wonderful, so encapsulating, and absolutely worth your time.
So here's the question, Will, before we head off for this episode. It is fair game for it to show up on the finale, right?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Speaking of, I mean, I haven't put together my picks yet for it, so yeah, there's definitely going to be like a chance that some form of Monogatari features in my finale. I mean, why wouldn't it, right?
Yeah, I thought as much. I just thought I would clarify. Okay. We've kept you guys listeners long enough, but listen, we gotta say what we gotta say, and if you want to hear all of it, you're welcome to. If you don't want to hear all of it, or come back later after you finish the stuff that we consumed, just so that you can hear through our thought process afterwards, by all means do so. Will, anything before we head off?
No, I'm gonna go make myself another coffee, just so I can stay awake a little bit longer. And then, it was good to finally get back to recording, I have to say. And hopefully, of course, with how we're going to be scheduling the rest of JP, especially since we are getting to the end of season 4 and about to start up season 5. Look forward to getting back into regular recording sessions and hopefully not have too much disruption in terms of how we record our episodes.
All right, so that's it. I'll catch you guys later.
Take it easy, y'all.